We can put it in as a sound. Well, anyway, we're here. Patrick is making bizarre noises. It sounds about par for the course. Josh is in a tank top, and Ryan
that's
is
not par. That's different.
Punctual.
Well, Ryan is wondering why the rest of us are so weird, I think.
What else?
Welcome into a show. PJ has already managed to insult Patrick today. I thought that was a big move. Apparently Patrick is cool too, and I agree with that. But yeah, we have a fun show. I think it's gonna be fun, right?
Different at the very least.
It's always
right?
fun.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm here, right? So it's gonna be fun.
And different,
but
we're gonna piss off some people probably.
We will. I was told,
maybe.
I thought that I did a great job with the thumbnail for this podcast or whatever video. Apparently, it sucks. Yeah, I thought it was great. Apparently, it's not so good.
Let me go look at it.
Yeah, apparently it sucks. That's what I was told. I thought I did a great job. For someone who doesn't know what they're doing, I thought I did a great job. I thought it was very funny. You know,
who is that?
That's Joe Mixon.
Oh.
I thought, you know what? I always say it's important to know what you're good at and know what you're bad at. Know what you're bad at. Yeah, could I probably get to the level of other people who design thumbnails if I spent all my time on it? Probably. I'm not stupid. You know, I do have a master's in sports management. I did use Photoshop here and there. I'm not an idiot.
Listen, I'm cool with the thumbnail. I'm cool.
Yeah. Is it the best use of my time? Probably not. Is it going to help people win fantasy leagues? No. And, you know, it's not like the show has got
like one extra person to click on the video, possibly.
Maybe.
Did you click on the
videos
video?
were better last year with no thumbnails at all. They had more views last year than they do this
If
year.
you saw the
With
thumbnail, have a comment in the chat. Say great thumbnail or bad thumbnail.
Yeah, if you saw the thumbnail
Right
and it
now.
made you click, tell me, because that'll tell me I did a great job. And if it didn't make you click, then I won't hear from you. So I'm only going to hear from the people who said I did a great job. And that's what.
Don't lie to him either. Don't just say it. You know, like, come on.
You know what?
We want honesty.
I will say that, and this is an important thing I think to talk about, is that some of us is me, live in an echo chamber. I do have to be aware of that. I live in an echo chamber. I block all the people on Twitter who I don't like. I only talk to people that I like. And most of the people asking me questions are patrons who are paying to talk to me. So I hear a lot of how great I am and not a lot of constructive negative. Most of the negative I receive is like when I post a rankings thread, it's fuck you. This list sucks. You're dumb. That doesn't tell me anything either. So I don't get a lot of like real constructive engagement. So I never really know how to interact with that. It's something I'm working on, but I really don't get a lot of it. Most of what I get is either you're the best, or please never do any
try my
content ever
best,
again.
Tyler. I try, but I only really do it on the show here. I try to pull you back down to earth a little bit, you know?
You're probably the most I get, really. And like, you know.
What makes you block someone?
What makes me block someone? That they breathe air.
He's
and disagree with you.
And that does
tumble on Twitter.
No, you can disagree. You can disagree. Generally, I'll block someone if I feel like the first interaction makes me not want to have a second. So whatever that might be. Anything that, you know, is not good. Saying bad things about therapy, or dismissing mental health, or talking like you know, some people in our country often do today. That's a quick way to get blocked. Telling me that I look pretty and that's why you won't take my fantasy advice is, as much as I love that and I really appreciate that, that's also a good way to get blocked.
That's better though. It's a step better.
Step in the right direction.
Don't do it.
But yeah, just anything like super dismissive. Like at the end of the day, I'm on Twitter, yes, because it's entertaining and I have a platform and I like it, but I'm there primarily to find people who want to engage in the rest of my fantasy content. Twitter is a funnel. So if your initial response is go fuck yourself, I find it hard to believe that you're going to engage in the rest of my fantasy content. So you don't have any value to me. Nowadays, though, I take advantage of this. If you notice, there's been a marked change in my tone on Twitter. I actually like to thank people for the negative comments. Thank you.
I've seen a couple of them.
Yes, the Twitter algorithm loves it. Thank you for making this negative comment. I actually really appreciate it. My Kyle Pitts ranked at number 1 of tied into Dynasty. That thread got so much engagement because of all the negative comments. Twitter loves it. Mr. Musk is totally in favor of negative comments. Twitter loves it. So thank you for making the negative comment. Sometimes I even write it out. I really appreciate this negative comment. Go fuck yourself, but I really appreciate it. And sometimes I dunk on people. Sometimes seriously, like I did today with the mental health post. That was not a joke. Sometimes not so seriously. Sometimes it's like, okay. Find someone who has Evan Ingram in their Dynasty top 5. I'm waiting. By the way, no one was found. Nobody was found. I did an exhaustive search.
Top 5?
Top 5 in Dynasty? No one was found. Yeah. No one was found.
No,
after 40,000 impressions and over 80 responses, nobody was found. So I'm sorry I let that person down. Oh, it is? I didn't know that. It's funny. I actually never knew that. As much as we've interacted, PJ's been interacting with me for a long time. Yeah. Oh, okay. A couple things. If you're watching this on Twitter, don't. But because you can't comment.
Doesn't help very much.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I don't care. If you can watch it on Twitter, it helps me just the same. But
a little bit less, right?
You can't. No, it still helps me. I don't mind. I don't mind the extra traffic.
You got the views on the Twitter compared to
I don't mind the extra traffic on my Twitter.
Fair enough.
The only reason not, if Twitter had a comment feature, I would say, go ahead. Watch on Twitter. Why not? Twitter doesn't have a comment feature. What's the point in watching a live show if you can't comment on a StreamYard Twitter? Which is so stupid that StreamYard.
I think it used to, like 2 years ago.
I'm well aware of that. I remember when it went away.
Yeah,
but it's why comment? Why watch a live show on Twitter if you can't comment on that show?
They want you on their spaces.
Oh, actually, I was invited to a couple of those, and I said no, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. I'm just busy. I'm busy. Conan and I have a project coming up. We're recording our episodes tomorrow, so look for the first one on Thursday. We're going to record 4 more episodes, 10 to 15 minutes, 4 in one session. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to be on Trade Addicts tonight, actually. So I have a busy evening. All right. I do. From Justin Tech. He makes a lot of comments on YouTube, and we appreciate that. It's a quick way to jump the line, by the way. If you want to ask me a fantasy question, it's a great way to jump the line. I'll get back to you faster in a YouTube comment than I will on Twitter. Unless I'm like actively on Twitter, but that's maybe an hour a day. So yeah, quick way to jump the line because it helps my algorithm more. Twitter, I don't need any. Not to say I don't need any help. I don't need any help. I have 30. I'm doing very well there. YouTube, not so good. So I really appreciate everyone who comments on YouTube because I need the help. I'm not gonna lie. I traded Bryce Young for Russell Wilson, 24 first and third and 12-team Superflex PPR. How'd I do? Let's go to Ryan first. How about that? Let's see.
I like it. I'll take Bryce Young in that. I know people are overvaluing the 24 first. We talked about it last week on the show about not every 24 first is a late first. And I kind of am in that same vein of like, if I could get the good player this year, the known quantity, I know what I'm getting. I'm pulling the trigger on that, especially 12-team Superflex. So I like that trade.
I'm anticipating with a team that had Russell Wilson and is giving up their 24 first, and I see this as a good move for their team to go to Bryce Young. I see that being an earlier-ish first. I don't expect that to be a top-tier contender. Bryce Young doesn't make you a top-tier contender. I'd rather throw out Russell Wilson and hope that he continues to strike. He comes back to Seattle, Russell Wilson, and at that point he can win you your league. So if that's the case, I'd want the Russell Wilson in the 24 first side.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want Russell Wilson. I think there's a big problem because his Subway sandwich was no good. We can't have that.
Have you tried it?
Has anybody tried it?
Did you get who was it?
It's spicy.
Zach Wilson's was stuck.
Well, Zach Wilson's Subway sandwich was probably targeted at 5-year-olds, which is what he looks like. But these are minor details.
It was targeted at Karen, like 55-year-old MILFs.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said MILFs on this show way too many damn times.
We know what Patrick's into.
I mean,
check his search history.
Patrick, you do have a child.
Delete. Control Shift H.
Yeah.
No.
Russell
Our search history
Wilson,
is clean as a whistle.
not good. Yeah, private browsing or incognito.
Incognito, yeah. You don't got to delete
What's that?
anything.
Control Shift N
What does that do?
opens an incognito window.
Now you tell me. I don't. I'll take Bryce Young, I guess. Why not?
I think
I
it's
posted it in
when
Twitter.
It comes out to it, though.
That's good. I'm glad you posted it in Twitter. I will say, if I don't get to your question on Twitter, I will say I've taken a new policy on Twitter. I made no announcement about this policy, but it was just a decision that I made. I'm not going to go back 2 days in my notifications. So I'm just going to, there will come points at which I will just, usually when I post a new thread, that's me saying I'm not going back again. So I posted a thread today, ask me about a player. I will no longer go back to my notifications from before that. So, if you ask me a question and it's been a day, that means it probably got lost in the shuffle of my, I will tell you, over thousands of notifications. Well, I don't like this layout. I fixed it. Much better.
There it is.
Over thousands of notifications a day, it probably got lost. So, what's the layout I actually like? Well, who cares?
That's not bad.
It's not bad. Who cares? It
Take
doesn't
down the
matter.
comment.
It's better when the comment's down.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Maybe we have to change that push-up thing.
Again. Hold on.
Again,
Find it. Tech guy coming to the rescue.
Well, I'm glad you're back, Ryan. I know there was you were on a trip.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I heard you were on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I wish I was on vacation.
Yeah.
By the way, I love that the first show that I was on with you, we tested that your background wasn't a green screen.
Oh yeah.
It's a blue screen.
It's blue screen, not.
It
We're
looked
good.
fake.
It does look
Made
a little
the bed?
fake. I'm not gonna lie to you. It really does.
It doesn't look that fake.
It looks a little fake. It's just so blue.
I mean, it's not as fake as Cortland Sutton's fantasy value.
Ooh, I actually saw someone in the chat bring up Sutton.
Oh, you think it was a coincidence?
Yeah. I don't know. No.
There are no coincidences on this show,
I
Josh.
know.
There are no coincidences.
This is a tough trade to crack. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, right.
I'm literally just sitting here trying to figure out which side I like more in my mind. I guess it's
not tough. It's not.
You think it? I think
No, it's not tough at all.
I think it's tough too.
You do? I don't think so. I think this is a gross overpay. I mean, I love Chase. I love Chase, but this is not how you don't win by overpaying. I mean, Waddle is very worth a lot. Olave is worth a lot more than Terry in the 24 second, and there's also a 24 first. I mean, I wouldn't pay this. It's not. We don't want to build teams that way. I mean, it's one thing. I always say you want to consolidate, mid-tier assets into something really good, right? What I don't recommend doing. That's what I recommend doing. If the trade said Terry and a 24 second for Olave, that's what I recommend doing. Obviously, you can't do that, but that's what I recommend doing. What I don't recommend doing is consolidating multiple high-tier assets into one really high-tier asset. That's usually what I say don't do. So I tend to have a lot of players, I tend to have very little of Chase, Jefferson, Mahomes, Allen. I don't tend to have those because I don't value the difference.
If you did have them.
Right. Because I would try to do a trade like this if I did have them. And I would much rather have the other side. Every player has a price, and this is definitely a price. So I would take the Waddle side very easily. It's not much of a decision.
Terry being 27 makes it a little bit tougher for me because it's not like he doesn't put up good stats. Chase
but he doesn't
is
really.
He doesn't. Yeah.
Define
doesn't,
the
though.
word good, guys, because I know we're going to get hyped up. Terry McLaurin finishes as a top 30 fantasy wide receiver every year of his career, pretty much, right?
That's
Good.
true, but
he's been
Above average.
talked about
Good.
as a wide receiver 12 to 15
yeah,
his entire
he's,
career.
ta- he's
I'm
not
glad we're
talked
defining
about
that a
as
little
what
bit.
he
All right,
does.
Cool.
He's talked about as a superstar,
Cool.
and he's not.
Cool.
But he hasn't had a quarterback till this time. Maybe,
What
if you believe in
and
Sam Howell.
which quarterback does he have now?
Hey, you're talking to the Commanders, guys, so I'm a Sam Howell believer. But
Oh, he
Yikes.
is so bad. He is so bad. It's going to be a big problem. I think
hurt
that
Ryan Howell.
Ron Rivera, I think, will be. I wish I had an axe with me. I used to have an axe, and I would swing it to eliminate the coach. And I think that Ron Rivera will not survive this entire season. I think it's going to be very bad. Very bad. They play in a tough division. He is in his fourth year as coach. It's been 3 years of a failure, a lot of failure. And I don't think we've really seen much progress. And I think that he will be fired. And I think this will be a very good thing, because then maybe some progress will be made. I think they wanted to go after a younger quarterback, but they couldn't do that because Ron Rivera knew that his job was on the line. And I think that it's time to get everything changed. The general manager changed, coach changed, quarterback needs to be changed. A lot of the other things, the weapons, no tight end, running back room is blah. A lot. The team really, to me, I see in disarray. So I would not count on Terry McLaurin this year. There's an interesting debate today on the Fantasy Footballers podcast. I thought it was interesting. If anyone listened to that, some people might enjoy their work. I think it's pretty good.
I love what they do, but
I do love it, but I only
please tell me what they say.
I reference it because I think maybe people have heard it. Yeah. Jason Moore said that he had Terry McLaurin at like wide receiver 13 or 14, which I thought was, and then Andy and Mike had him around 25, much lower, which is for the year, which I thought was more reasonable. So it seems like most people, that I've heard are more on the Andy and Mike side, having him outside the top 20 pretty easily, given the bleak situation that he finds himself in this year. So that's part of it. Since I don't like Terry McLaurin at all, that makes it even easier.
Fair enough. I mean, speaking of bad, did you guys see those Tampa highlights from training camp?
Highlights? I saw, I did see them. I saw a lot of problems. I saw a lot of missed passes. And, it's funny what happened. I noticed that Deshaun Kaiser was there. Ooh. It really looked like these passes looked like a reminder of Deshaun Kaiser. It was very strange. I don't know what happened. I don't know when Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask became this bad.
We're sending Caleb Williams to Tampa.
That would be nice.
There's some weapons for him to work with, huh? Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Baker Mayfield is so bad. So bad. Oh, also, Jordan Addison is not participating at camp because of a minor injury. Is this news?
Freak out, guys! No, it's not news.
Freak out!
We don't even know what the injury is. If we knew it was a hamstring injury, maybe we could be
I love that. We don't know what the injury is, but we should freak out.
You have like a sprained pinky, which isn't good during the season, maybe, but like right now, it's not a worry. We're gonna be okay. Let's see what happens once we get into the mess of things.
The minor injuries, all the BC Johnson over him on the depth chart.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah.
I'll never forget Justin Jefferson being like third on the depth chart going into the season for the Vikings.
These depth charts don't mean anything.
KJ Osborne's out playing him.
Yeah.
I remember that. I also remember Odell Beckham not playing all offseason his rookie year. You heard his hamstring. He didn't play any of the training camp.
I think he missed a couple games though. I might be wrong.
He came back right before he might have been nursed in the beginning, but he played pretty early.
Yeah.
And then he blew up. Don't panic on Addison.
Not yet.
I appreciate the click. All right, give Hawkinson and Mike White, get Metcalf and 24 third, half tight end premium. Well, I would go with Metcalf.
Me too.
Yeah, Metcalf.
Especially with
regardless of
Andrews
who
in there.
your tight ends are. Regardless of having those 2 stud tight ends, just take the stud in Metcalf.
Yeah. I would say of who I'm more worried about, I'm more worried about TJ Hawkinson with Jordan Addison coming in than I am with DK Metcalf with JSN coming in. And here's why. I do believe that DK Metcalf is going to be hurt by JSN coming in because DK Metcalf is not AJ Brown. Even AJ Brown, I'm not sure is quite in that category. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Jamar Chase. Levels of players that are so good that Julio Jones of old, it didn't matter. DeAndre Hopkins of old, Devontae Adams, the players that are so good, it makes no difference. It makes no difference of who else is there. They're going to get what they want, and everyone else comes second. DK Metcalf's not in that group. But TJ Hawk, he's in the next group. Very, very good players who are going to do very well, but they can be affected by their circumstances, especially other talented players. TJ Hawkinson is in the next group. The next group. He's good. But what happens when he's the third target and not the second? Is he going to be as good? I don't know. He's someone I'm a little worried about. He's a sell to me. Someone I'm just not. I mean, I don't dislike him. I have him as tight end 4, along with pretty much everyone else in Dynasty. I've yet to see a rank that doesn't have TJ Hawkinson at tight end 4. That's one of the most consensus Dynasty ranks.
He was too darn good when he went to the Vikings last year.
Yeah, but I've yet to see.
It. Yeah.
I've yet to see anyone with rank anything else because I don't think he's anywhere near either the top 3 or everyone below him. Yep. I don't think he's anywhere near. I think he's in like a wide wasteland of value between.
What about
3
Waller?
And 5. Waller
With the Giants?
No, not in Dynasty. Waller's
not in Dynasty, no, but
in redraft I've seen other ranks.
I want this.
No, in redraft I've seen other ranks.
I think I would.
In redraft I've seen Hawk above Pitts, and I don't. In redraft that's not bad. But in Dynasty, I've rarely seen anything other than Hawk at 4 exactly. So I'll take Metcalf. I do think Metcalf is good. He's not. I mean, we know Metcalf. TJ Hawkinson really was only. I mean, he's been in the league for 4 years, and he was not a disappointment for about 10 games. I'm kind of in the middle on him, I would say. Juju actually has more value than Sutton. I'm not gonna lie.
You're telling me Mac Jones, the decent offensive coordinator, not named Matt Patricia, could actually do decent things?
Hey, Bill O'Brien, the coach, was always good. The problem was Bill O'Brien, the general manager.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem
with Bill O'Brien. Second for DeAndre Hopkins.
Do you think Hopkins is rocking the star helmet?
I'm assuming, Tyler, your opinion hasn't changed on what you think about.
Well, the little birdie, as I said, the little birdie remained active, and now the birdie was correct.
Little birdie.
Well, the little birdie said that DeAndre Hopkins was going to the Chiefs, and now, we heard now that the little birdie was correct. The Cardinals had given DeAndre Hopkins permission to talk with the Chiefs earlier in the offseason. So the little birdie knew some things about this situation. Now the little birdie says that DeAndre Hopkins is very interested in going to the Chiefs. But the money situation is different from earlier in the offseason. The Chiefs have tied up more of their cap in Donovan Smith.
I think they have like $1 million in cash.
Yeah, they're very tight. They're very tight. They can do it.
Yeah.
They can do it, but it's a tight fit. So the Chiefs and the Bills are the 2 teams that are actually in consideration for DeAndre Hopkins.
And I think the Bills also have like $1 million in cap.
Bills are very tight. The Bills have cash. They have more cash. They're in a better situation to do it.
These teams can make it happen if they truly want to.
The Bills are in a better situation to do it. They're in a better situation to do it. I think they both need him. I think the Chiefs need him more.
Does it feel like a Lions or a Browns could come in and
Lions no
up,
way.
Though?
Lions
they got
no
the
way.
money
Brown, doesn't matter. He's not going to the Lions. Browns though. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins had a problem with Deshaun Watson.
I don't either.
I don't think he had a problem with Deshaun Watson. So, and it just says right here, Deshaun Watson would love to have DeAndre Hopkins join him. I mean, what? That's not news, by the way. Who would not want that's
Elijah Moore?
News. Yeah, but I told you
what
the whole offseason that Elijah Moore had no value. Maybe if we had listened. I told you. And I do
No, you weren't saying that until you got rid of all your shares, and then you were saying it.
No, I said it the whole
Okay,
time.
okay,
It's
I'm
not my
messing
fault
around,
that
I'm
people
messing around,
traded for them anyway.
I'm messing around.
But no, I think the Browns are the dark horse if the other ones don't work out. But they don't
No
really
Ravens?
make.
You don't think Ravens?
I find that I mean, you think he's going to
After
take
signing
less?
Odell, you know.
Yeah, I don't think they can afford to overpay.
I wish we would give that Odell money just to Hopkins. I'm a Ravens.
Well, he
fan,
wasn't
so
available at
that
the
would be
time.
great.
I think if he had been available, they would have done it.
In a heartbeat.
I know.
Does Tyler still like Sutton? No, we know that. Are you guys waiting until right before the opening kickoff to invest in running backs beyond the obvious smash accept? I mean, typically, yes, but that doesn't mean that they're not exceptions, right? I mean, but yes, typically.
Well, in your leagues, you're always looking for opportunities. Like, are people putting these running backs on the block? You think you can kind of get them on the cheap? You have to pounce on it when you have to. Optimally, I would like to wait until kickoff. I would like to see them play a game or two, and you're mitigating that risk because you're not. If you wait until midseason to do a trade like that when you actually have a need, less risk that person gets injured because they're not injured when you trade for them, right? So, optimally, I would.
I feel like I see some more value going around for running backs right now because people are scared because there's so much offseason that has to happen.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook's looming out there, and there's a bunch of things that could happen. So I don't shy away from it. It's like you said, it's obviously ideal to be able to get your running backs, especially on a team that's ready to compete and go for it closer to the season. But if you can get the value right now, go get the value.
A lot of the rookies are values in startup drafts. If you're doing a startup draft where the rookies included, A-Chain, Charbonnet, and Miller are all undervalued. Bigsby as well, undervalued. They're all undervalued. They're not undervalued in rookie drafts, but they're undervalued compared to veterans in startup drafts.
Yep.
That's one thing I always do. I do say typically is in startup drafts, I find myself ending up with a lot of rookies. A lot of rookies when it's after the NFL draft and it's all rolled in together. A lot of rookie picks when it's done before the NFL draft. I always end up with a lot of rookies because they're always undervalued. Although it's interesting this year. The rookies in the middle are the undervalued ones. Not the top. The top a little bit, but the middle are very undervalued. The ones at the bottom are actually not undervalued. They're actually overvalued.
So it kind of like hits a point where you like hit that mid-second round in rookie drafts, but in
People
your
bunch
startup
them in
draft,
too
and like
much.
just people
They
push them
bunch them in
down, and
too
then
much, and they don't
just all
realize
start
that
getting taken
there's
at the end.
separation.
Yeah, that
They
makes
don't
sense.
realize that there's separation. Players like, I'll give you some examples. There's some players that have very overpriced value. Israel Abanikanda, Keyshawn Boutte, their startup values are obscene.
You'll see them close to like
Tyler
Marvin
Scott.
Mims kind of deal. Is that what you're
Not that they're close to Marvin Mims. Even Tank Dell, who I like, is Zach Evans. These are players that are multiple rounds too high.
Yeah.
Roshan Johnson,
Gotcha.
although he's overvalued in rookie drafts too.
That high
So
mind is
overvalued in rookie
so
drafts.
annoying.
Because
Can
Pat
someone-
likes him.
is there-
Patrick likes him.
No, I don't. No,
Anything.
that hive mind is annoying.
He is so
Okay,
bad.
gotcha.
They're driving him up from
You know who
where
he
should be in the
reminds
late
me of?
second.
You know who he reminds me of, to be really honest? Who he reminds me of?
Be honest.
Joshua Kelly. He reminds me of Joshua Kelly. Who was
No.
fourth. And you know who else? There's another one he reminds me of. Another fourth round pick who faced a completely empty depth chart and then completely didn't deliver. Anthony McFailure. Anthony McFailure came into a completely open depth chart, allegedly, and didn't deliver at all. And despite he had a similar ADP, didn't deliver, and now here we are. He's worthless. Benny Snell, same thing. Didn't
Snail.
deliver.
You know, the funny thing is that Hive is so crazy. I think I mentioned this on the last time we were on, but I was able in a 14-team league to move pick 2-1 in a rookie draft for a 24 first so they could take Roshan Johnson. And I felt like that was,
That
it
is-
way. No way.
was a beautiful pull the trigger.
Woo-wee!
Congrats on Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Good job.
That's obscene, though.
Yeah.
The 6.2 points per game that they're going to get off of Roshan Johnson
Stop
is
highballing
going to
6.2.
make the difference.
Yeah. So that's why I oversaid that.
I mean, I still would rather have Khalil Herbert than Roshan Johnson.
I would too.
Interesting.
I've been scared to say that.
Why?
The high.
I've hated on Khalil Herbert, but I will happily take Khalil Herbert over.
And then I mean, it's a crowded backfield, right? We're just kind of.
I don't really want
it could be
Khalil
any of the
Herbert
three
either.
guys.
At this point, I'm not even going to say his name anymore. I'm done saying. This is the last time I'll ever say Rashawn Johnson's name.
Yeah, right. A liar.
See you next
Josh,
week.
you have an admirer here.
What's up, Gavin? Gotcha. This is what I do it for. I do it for you. No, I'm just comfortable.
Better back end roster stash. Gallup, Isaiah Huggins. I assume that's Isaiah Hodgins. Or Hayden Hurst. It's Gallup.
Yeah.
Giddy up to your waiver wire.
I already got Tyler's opinion. Okay. I remember this interaction. For the rest of you, how many rookie tight ends are you taking over Waller in Dynasty? And what's everyone's thoughts on Goddard versus Kittle? My tight end thread was a big problem. Like, people don't realize they gave me exactly what I wanted. Like, they think that it was bad. Like, the negative comments, like, they think it's bad. It's giving me everything I want. I had 254,000 impressions on that tweet.
Sam, I got to tell you, I'm taking 2 rookie tight ends over Waller, and that's it. And it's Laporta and Kincaid. Only because I want the couple years out of Waller on the Giants. I don't really care about the other tight ends, to be honest with you. I don't view it as deep for fantasy purposes. Mayer's probably close. I don't know that I trust Musgrave without Aaron Rodgers there. So I think I would definitively say 2. If I had a contending team. If I didn't have a contending team, then I'd take probably 4 or 5 over him. But anywhere near contention, I'm taking 2.
Contending team, I'll take or non-contending team, I'll take 3 tight ends over him. And it was the 3 you mentioned there. If I'm contending, I'm willing to roll the dice with Waller.
Love
not
Waller.
ever Kincaid.
It's the target share. It's so appealing. Like I'm sitting here thinking about it still. Like Detroit doesn't really use tight ends, so like I know it feels like a moot point, but Sam Laporta is going to put up hopefully good numbers. I'm going to say 3. I'll go with 3. I'll take the chop.
I'll take the 3. Darren Waller is someone who scares me. Darren Waller is obviously in decline. He's obviously a shell of himself. And why at 31 a miracle is going to happen and he's going to become better, I have no idea. I don't know why people think that. It's just something I don't get. Like he looked like crap last year and was obviously in decline the year before. He hasn't done anything elite in over 3 years. Since the end of 2020. So yeah, 3 years. Last 2 years, nothing. I mean, not nothing, but not. I mean, 2021 was worse and 2022 was worse than 2021. Why a miracle is going to happen and at 31 he suddenly become better, I have no idea. He's not Travis Kelce. I think he's going to follow more the path of every other tight end, where now we're seeing the drop off. Even Gronk.
I'm more concerned that we probably drafted.
Done, really. The Giants.
What's up, Patrick?
Oh, I was sorry. It cut out when Tyler was talking. I thought he had stopped talking. I'm probably drafting more tight ends in rookie drafts than games that Waller will actually play in for the New York Giants, and that's what's concerning me. Is I'm worried that he's hamstrung himself.
All of them.
So like 6 tight ends that I'm considering drafting in rookie drafts, I would guess that's going to be more games than Waller is actually going to play. And that's concerning.
I don't want to say that he's not going to play, but he wasn't good in the games he played last year.
I'm concerned for the soft tissue injuries.
That's the scare.
Those things continue to nag
concerned.
and have a history of repeating themselves. And once they hit someone over the age of 30, they're a problem for the rest of their career.
I agree with that, but I'm more concerned that those soft tissue injuries have zapped him of the ability to be the player that he was, than that he's going to not be in the lineup. I'm more just concerned that he's just not what he was, that he's a shell of himself. Like Julio Jones played actually more games than you think over his last couple of years in the league, but he wasn't Julio Jones.
Right.
He was a shell of himself.
He was also nursing an injury even in those games.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He was still showing up on the injury report.
He's not injured, but he's diminished.
You
if that
it
makes
takes it takes one play for you to do too much with an
Yeah.
injury like that.
The other thing is that I'm, with all due respect to Darren Waller, he's not Julio Jones, let alone Travis Kelce. He's not that. He's neither of those two. Darren Waller was elite once and really good in another season.
Do you think there's a possible world where he is the target leader for the Giants this year?
Absolutely.
I do. He could be the target leader with 80 targets.
Yeah,
that's the concerning.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, that's the concerning part. I think that for me, I'm not even willing to give him his 2021 numbers. So I'm not going to be in on Darren Waller.
Fair. But I do think there's a world where that happens. Obviously, there's a little idea that it could be the play, but yeah, you're right. The passing volume could be low in that offense, but I think the offense is going to, as a whole, is going to take a nice little step forward. So
it's hard for it to take a step back.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
that's true.
How much worse is it going to be through the air?
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, if you look back at the Giants games where that offense did anything, look at the teams they played. They played bottom 4 passing defenses anytime Daniel Jones had a meaningful game, and it made up the bulk of his fantasy stats. From a passing perspective, I'm not sold on that, but I do. They didn't have weapons, right? I'm personally a huge Waller fan, so I'll be the kind of dissenter here. I feel like he's probably top 5 in redraft for me this year. I really like Darren Waller for this upcoming year. Love him.
I will not have him top 5. And then what about the last part? What about Goddard versus Kittle?
Taking Kittle, but
really,
top 5 doesn't kill me.
I'll take Goddard.
I know you've been low on Kittle, Tyler, a little bit. You're just a little bit worried for next year.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to take Kittle. George Kittle's it's a classic mistake that people make. Just because George Kittle's better in real life, we're not playing best real life.
He was top 3 last year, though. PPR.
You gonna get the 11 touchdowns again? I mean, I doubt it. I doubt it. He had 7 in 4 games with Brock Purdy. I doubt it. Dallas Goedert had, more.
But if anyone can do it, I mean, with his skill set, if he's able to stay healthy, which is the biggest problem with Kittle because he plays so hard.
Kittle actually played more games last year than Waller, or than Goddard.
Goddard, yep.
Yeah, Goddard played like 12.
And Kittle played 15. The problem with Kittle is that you have a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk. One, when everyone played, Kittle was bad. Was bad. Really bad. That's problem 1. Problem 2 is, what if Trey Lance is on the field? That could be a disaster. We don't know what that looks like. Or what if Brock Purdy is on the field and it takes him a while to recover? He's not the same after the injury. Or what if Sam Darnold is on the field? Or what if they go to the approach that they went to when Elijah Mitchell played of running the ball all the time? There were those games too. George Kittle had, 11 touchdowns. He had a career low, other than his rookie year, in receptions per game by over a reception. A career low in yards by 14 from the second lowest, which was 2021, by the way.
You don't think those targets can come back, though?
Why? Well, I would just ask you why they would come back. Like, you say, could they come back? They could, but why would they? Why would they? Nobody has left. Nobody's gone. They're proceeding into the season with everyone healthy, which happened at no period last year.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's if there's an injury. If you get a CNC, get hurt.
There were some injuries last year.
Yeah.
There have been injuries every year. So what if this is the year that there aren't injuries? For them, injuries is normal. What if this is the year that everyone stays healthy? He didn't have that many targets when there were injuries. So that's a big concern. And I do think that they want to use Brandon Ayuk more than they have. I do think that if there's someone who I would think would get more usage just for no reason, no reason other than the coach wants to use him more, it would be Brandon Ayuk, who's the youngest of the bunch. They committed to him with a 5th-year option. So they committed $18 million guaranteed to him in 2024 or more, 18, 19 million. So I would think that they're going to find a way to use him. So if anything, I would say George Kittle's target share would go down, which is terrifying. Because I don't care who you are. 11 touchdowns on 60 targets, 60 receptions and 86 targets is not happening again. That doesn't happen. That's your Robert Tonyan type stuff from his monster season. Eric Ebron. That doesn't happen.
You're bringing back the memories for me.
Well, I had those players. I remember them.
Oh my gosh. The Eric Ebron legacy season.
Oh, Eric Ebron. I will say Eric Ebron I always have a soft spot for Eric Ebron. Suddenest failure. At this point, I have to agree because, this new regime saw what they had, and they decided to use some of their limited draft capital on a receiver, which I did not think they were going to do. And they didn't trade anyone away. It still is odd. I wouldn't be surprised if Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy is on another team, but I'm still not interested in Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton to the Chiefs.
Cortland Sutton to me is like Mike Evans, except bad.
Oh, tall, not that fast.
Yeah. He's like Mike Evans, except he sucks. He can't actually deliver on what Mike Evans has made a Pro Bowl career of. He cannot deliver on. That's what people liked him for, was the go up and get it ability. He can't deliver on that. He's not good enough.
He's also been a guy that has had to deal with injuries too. And I think at this point at 28, I'm out on him. No reason.
He wasn't even that good before his injury. He was wildly
He was living off that one season 4 years ago where he was a top 20 wide receiver his second year in the league.
He was wildly inefficient.
Those flames.
The team cost themselves offense every time they threw the ball to him. It was not good. It was worse than replacement. So was volume only, didn't do anything special with the volume he saw. Not a high catch rate. Not actually good at winning the contested catches that he was allegedly supposed to be good at. There was never anything there. It's just a trap. It's a constant trap. Just because someone's big doesn't mean that it has to come together. You have to be more than that. You can't
Again,
just
it was
be
that
big.
one season where
he had a couple highlight reel plays,
and then he got
It's
injured,
why
right?
I worry about, it's why I say George Pickens needs to develop more than just that. I hope he can. But if Chase Claypool was kind of the same thing. Chase Claypool never developed it. Maybe George Pickens will. But those type of receivers, you can't just be that. Mike Evans is more than that. Mike Evans can actually play wide receiver.
Pickens at least can stretch a little bit. I like him more than some of those other guys, but
he has to learn how to run routes, though.
Yep.
He has to learn how to run routes. You're not going. At the end of the day, that's part of playing wide receiver in the NFL. You have to be able to run routes. If your whole route tree is red like Cortland Sutton's, you're not going to succeed. Jerry Jeudy's is all green, which, not that I love Jerry Jeudy, but he is least able. Jerry Jeudy's going to have a longer NFL career than Cortland Sutton.
Agreed.
Because he's not dependent on his body. If you're dependent on your body, one injury, and then it's over. If you can route run, you meet Keenan Allen and come back from an injury and still be good. Many times over. Cooper Kupp, same thing. Scott Caw, 1 quarterback, 10 team start 8, traded 104 for Josh Jacobs. Oh, interesting. Well,
I'll take Josh Jacobs here.
I think I would have to. Yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs is worth
10
more
team.
than Addison or
out.
Johnston.
Yeah. And the 10 team just stands out starting 8. It's relatively a small starting lineup. So with only 10 teams, if you're thinking you could make a run for the title, I'll definitely take Josh Jacobs here.
Problem is that cliff falls out so quick in the rookie drafts that I'm with you. Give me Jacobs. Once Gibbs is gone off the board, give me Jacobs.
Yeah. If Gibbs somehow made it, well, he's not though. We're just talking about fairy tales then.
Rivera will be gone by week 8. I'll give him till week 12. Football news in May. Addison, we talked about. Olave, Garrett Wilson, Goddard, Bateman, and A-Chain for Brees, Pitts, 24 first and 24 second.
Whew, I got to digest this.
I'll go,
Yeah.
I'll go Olave, Garrett Wilson. Oh, wait, is that Olave or Garrett Wilson?
It's both
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
It's both.
It's either. I think it's
I see
either.
the
Oh,
dash.
it's
Okay.
either?
So
Oh,
do
if
we
it's
like
either,
Garrett
then
Wilson
it's
more
easy.
than
Then it's the
Olave?
Brees side.
Yeah, I want running back
Right.
2, tight end 1, and a 24 first.
Yeah, it's the Brees side.
Even though it's
usually
one half,
either.
one QB.
Yeah,
I don't care about Bateman. I
Let's call
don't
that a
care.
wash.
You guys know
I
how
think
I
it's
feel about
Couple
A-Chain.
Matt.
It's close, but I'm leaning the Brees Pitts. I think it's closer than I, originally thought.
I'm with you. Yeah, leaning Brees Pitts.
Does no Hopkins mean 10 plus targets a game for Hollywood? No, it doesn't.
Means 4 drops.
Maybe if Kyler was
Oh, I
playing,
like
or they had
Hollywood.
the same
That's
offense.
not the problem. I
you
just
know?
think this team is going to be. You
But
do
the
have a
Colt McCoy
team.
show.
You have a team or two every year that is so bad that it takes everyone down with them. That's this team. That's this one. That is so dysfunctional, such a disaster that it takes everyone down. I do think this is the closest thing we're going to have to it this year's Cardinals.
Which might mean a lot of passing volume if they just need to keep ahead in games. But again, a new coaching staff, their old offensive system was predicated around a lot of a lot of passes, which led to a lot of targets for Hollywood, especially when Hopkins wasn't there at the beginning of the year last year. But you might not have Kyler. It's a different offensive system. You can't guarantee.
I think
But
you
that's
can look at Darnell Mooney's 2021 for an example of what you might have from Hollywood.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he had
I'm nervous
140
for it.
targets. 140
That's a
targets.
lot.
And he had 81 receptions for 1,055 and 4, which is
That was a good
fine.
season.
I think people are thinking back to the first 6 weeks of the season with no DeAndre Hopkins. But to your point, it's a different offense, right?
Yeah, that's not
Because he was a top 10 receiver through those 6 weeks. So that volume meant
And
something.
I
for
bet
him.
you he was averaging over 10 targets a game during. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I bet he was.
I'll look it up.
Do it.
Not buying
But
it.
you're hoping that this team can even make first downs. And that's
yeah.
like
Who's
it doesn't matter
excited
if they're
for
throwing.
Clayton?
They're not getting
Who's
first
excited
downs.
for Clayton
Tune
Tune?
train.
What's up, Tyler?
Clayton Tune.
Tune up the band.
What Ravens wide receiver are you taking your shot on at value? None of them, please. They're all overvalued.
Yeah, probably more or less correct.
I mean,
If
Rashad
you're
Bateman's
not including
ADP.
Mark Andrews.
Rashad Bateman's
Wide
ADP is completely divorced from reality.
Is it high?
Very high. It's completely
my.
divorced from reality. It's like the last 2 seasons didn't even happen. It's like they didn't happen. It's like nothing happened. It's like you just deleted them.
Lamar
So
Jackson,
that's-
6,000 yards.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, if I'm taking a shot on someone, though, I'm going to take the upside of OBJ just because we've seen what OBJ can do. So if I'm
I mean,
taking
the last
a shot
time
on
OBJ
somebody,
was relevant, I wasn't even making fantasy content.
yeah.
And I am on most people's last nerve by now. So it's been quite a period of time.
Let's define relevant a little bit, because last time we saw him play on the football field, he was almost the MVP for the Super Bowl, bro.
Nobody cares.
What a
People
one.
love saying that, though.
Yeah, nobody cares. Zay
Wanna
Flowers
hear
ADP
something
is
crazy,
not
though?
Awful.
Going back
Yes,
to the
I
last
do.
comment, Marquise
Hollywood.
Brown, those first 6 weeks, he was the 5th most targeted receiver in football.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
64
Wow.
targets, over 10 a game.
That doesn't surprise me.
More than Jamar
Um,
Chase.
A little bit.
I'll take Zay Flowers if I have to take someone.
Are
I
we
do
talking
agree that
redraft
OBJ
or
is bad.
dynasty for that?
Either. Either because I'm not drafting anyone else.
Yeah.
I'll take the cheapest one, I guess. Like if
I just don't think I'm going to
someone-
draft Rashad Bateman at all. Like in redraft, I don't think I would draft Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman is not worth a draft pick.
Oh, in redraft. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I don't think I would draft Rashad Bateman. I don't see any upside.
I even said Mark Andrews. I didn't even realize that to his comment. I kind of jokingly said Mark Andrews. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
When you trade Patrick Mahomes, usually the answer is no.
No.
For Tua, Waddle, 24 third, 25, no.
Nope.
I saw the first name is 2 and I automatically
Yeah,
said
not
no.
Tua.
Especially for
There-
12 team super flex. Like, no, nah.
There was a
6
I
point
traded Patrick
pass
Mahomes this offseason. I had to text Tyler about it. It's one. I think it's the only time I texted you for trading advice, Tyler. But I I traded Patrick Mahomes and James Conner for Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, and Aaron Rodgers.
I like that better.
That's
Yes.
2 first-round startup
fine.
players.
I mean, I want the Waddle Olave combo that we've been seeing throughout the chat.
Yeah,
At least.
those combos.
Oh, that's funny.
People went
Yeah.
from like 7th place 2 years ago to like up to 5th place the next year. You see like their teams getting better. So they have these teams that they drafted Waddle and draft Olave at 7th overall, and it's just matching up their ADPs. Good to see teams improving, and now they're just trading them away.
You'd love to see it.
I feel like that was stupid. I'd love to see it.
I feel like I'm gonna rank Metcalf way above Lockett again.
Like for redraft, you mean?
Yeah.
Because for Dynasty, it's not.
Yeah. I also, I don't know.
We're just waiting for that Lockett downfall. We've been waiting.
Yeah, Lockett is someone who's kind of beat the odds.
Yeah.
They do, but like, I don't know. Are they really gonna add?
Bro?
Yeah, are they really gonna add DeAndre Hopkins? I find that hard to believe.
I could see it.
Jerry Jones would.
Yeah, Jerry Jones would love to.
Hey, we trade Elijah Moore for Pacheco. I think I would. I think
I would
Pacheco has
take it.
more of a
I'd
chance
take
of-
Pacheco in a heartbeat.
more of a chance of having dynasty value than Moore.
I don't like Moore at all. So give
I
me
don't like
Pacheco.
Moore either.
Hate that they drafted Tillman.
Yeah, that was not a good sign. I talked about that in a DLF article that's going to come out soon. It's very strange. I didn't really think they needed another wide receiver. I mean, I guess that you always need wide receivers. I didn't think it was their biggest need. And the fact that they spent their first draft pick after trading on their other one for Elijah Moore is a bad sign.
And if for whatever reason DeAndre Hopkins ends there, it's even more crowded, and I
Oh.
don't see anything from Elijah Moore. So I would make that trade today. Like I would take Pacheco immediately.
Yeah. Is Dalvin Cook going to Miami, or is he going to re-sign with Minnesota? I feel like this one keeps going back and forth.
Maybe neither.
Right
Yeah,
now, it's
what was the
sounding.
other
Right now, it's sounding like
Yeah. Bills?
he's weighing his options with Minnesota. That taking a pay cut is going to be better than going anywhere else because the market's not there for running backs. I'd expect
This
him to
one
stay in
says he's
Minnesota at
not
this point.
likely to be released.
If you made me bet on where he's going to be next year, it's the Vikings. I would definitely.
What about all those people that drafted Alexander Madison high? What are they gonna do?
Yeah, never mind. I was going to say you hope for an injury, but you don't.
No, I never hope for an injury.
Well, the
You-
interesting
They-
If he
the
gets
interesting thing
traded-
is that social media team had that banner that they put up, and they had Madison on it, not Dalvin Cook.
insider information.
That
Just
was
cover in
funny.
there, but
Yeah.
I think he's going to stay.
Miami.
But
That
but
would
they
be deadly,
unfollowed their
though.
team on Twitter.
Hey.
Yo. Sorry, I'm late to the party, guys.
It's
It's
all
okay.
good, man. We missed you, but we saw.
All right. What's the take that gets you shamed by the masses? Oh, this one. This one I've actually I've shamed, maybe not you, but I've shamed people who have this take. If Gibbs hits top 10, he's an outlier. Yes. He would be an outlier based on his weight. Doesn't hit top 10, he'd also be a huge outlier based on his draft capital. So he's going to be an outlier. He's going to be an outlier. There's no choice. He's going to be an outlier either way. Almost all running backs who are drafted that in the top 15 are great. Almost all of them. A lot of Hall of
Yeah,
Famers
they
there.
hit. Yeah, they hit.
But almost all running backs that are below 200 pounds, in his weight, do not end up being workhorses or really super fantasy value. They don't end up being high-end RB1s. So he's going to be an outlier.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So no matter what, he's one of those players that is going to break a mold one way or another. He's going to.
There's no median outcome with him. It's funny. There's
I will
middle
say
of the pack outcome.
that isn't true. But what I will say is that he's going to be someone, even though it shouldn't, he's going to change people's process moving forward. And this is what I take advantage of. If he hits, everyone's just going to be like, size doesn't matter at all. If he doesn't, no one will ever draft another small running back again. I say it's just one player. I don't. It's very rare I change my process based on anything anymore, especially not that. I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a process-changing player for me. There are very few of those. Yeah.
What other takes you guys got?
Something I've been talking about with some people lately on Twitter. I've been getting a few people on me for. I've really started to be in more on Jackson the Jigba. I've gone back and watched some more film and look at his numbers and really realizing that I truly believe by the end of the next 2 seasons he'll be the number 1 wide receiver for Seattle.
I think most people believe that. I think that's a hot take.
I've talked to some people and they have liked me for it. There are some people who still really believe in DK Metcalf, but I'm in on Jackson the Jigba.
Yeah, I think
so. I think I'll get flamed that. I don't know what other takes I'd have.
My Sam Laporta gets me.
Flamed.
Sam Laporta, tight end 1 for the rookies, always gets me. But
yeah, well, that's
my guy.
Yeah.
That's not common, and I don't agree at all.
I
don't either.
Twitter in the last week with saying Tank Bigsby is going to be a 0 in his rookie year be a hot take?
You think that Tank Bigsby is going to be 0?
Close.
Oh, I couldn't disagree more.
There you go.
I mean, they're very clearly saying that that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, Tank Bigsby is going to be.
They're very clearly saying that's not going to be the case. I mean, I don't understand why you would bother to draft someone with that kind of workhorse profile and then not use them at all. It doesn't really make any sense.
Insurance, maybe?
Yeah, I'd agree there.
But he's not insurance. You can't plug Tank Bigsby. He's not at all. That's the scary part. You can't take the same play that Travis Etienne would run and have Tank Bigsby run the same play and have it work.
But they're not.
No, but they're not
so dumb
similar.
where they can't adjust.
No, they're not even similar. They're not similar at all. They have nothing in common. They couldn't be more different.
They can run the same play 90% of the time. They're capable of doing the same running back play.
I would say you would have to change your running scheme to accommodate Tank Bigsby versus Travis Etienne. They don't run the same scheme.
Maybe. Okay.
They're very different.
Well,
they're very different players.
Yeah.
I think what it shows is that they want to have a different kind of package in their offense. That's the only reason to draft him.
Oh, I know. I don't take that with the claims.
You want to use him in short yardage situations. You want to use him at the goal line. That's why you would draft him.
He also,
if you wanted to have a backup,
of the touches. Sorry, go ahead.
If you wanted to have a backup, there are teams who drafted. And I think this year, I mean, teams who
I don't think you're gonna find anyone that's like Travis Etienne, by the way. So it doesn't. He's
you won't.
Unique.
You won't. I mean, if you want a team that drafted a backup, the Bears drafted a backup. You drafted someone who's just mad everything and who can go in any package and will be equally not successful in all of them. Like if you want that, there's your Brian Robinson, your Roshan Johnson are available every year. Blah, who can do everything okay. Those players are available, but that's not what they picked. They picked someone who has a role. So that's what I think is interesting. Something more scary. Something more scary is like Miami. They drafted someone who's similar to what they have. Devon Achane, especially to Raheem Mostert. They drafted someone who can run the same scheme. So that could be good. Because if he's the starter, that means he gets he gets the majority. Also could be bad because if he runs the same scheme, then he could just be backup. So you have more risk there. Zach Charbonnet is kind of similar. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker are not wildly different. You'd run the same scheme with the two. No. They're not wildly different. So it is a little, well, what are they planning? It's a lot less clear. Like, what is the plan there? That's a little bit less clear. The Jaguars or the Titans, it's a little more clear what they're planning with these, what their ideal would be with these players. Yeah. They drafted someone who has nothing to do with what they have. In the opposite direction, in both ways. Tajay Spears is obviously nothing like Derrick Henry. But in a different
Does
way.
anyone else have Does anyone have another take that?
Well,
they
Kyle
get
Pitts,
flamed
tight
for?
end
I have
one in
one more.
Dynasty, got me roasted. I mean, I was like, this is a consensus
Yeah,
rank,
yeah.
but you know, whatever.
Yeah,
I just,
Pitts is that one Dynasty fine. Right now it's I want to move Pitts up. Right now Andrews is one for me. So like why I want to move Pitts up. I've been
well, no one
wanting to
wanted
move him
Andrews at one though. Nobody said that. Everyone wanted Kelsey.
up.
At one.
No, it's not Kelsey. You can't do that. You can't put Kelsey.
Yeah,
on.
but you have to
No.
remember that my Twitter account is big enough that you know
anything
I get,
you say will get hated.
no, it's not that anything I say. It's that I go beyond the Dynasty community. So I get people
Yes.
reading my
Yeah.
list who have no idea what my list means.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's more. I think that's more what's happening.
I mean, I've posted a few tweets about Cam Akers breakout, and I've gotten some heat for that one. I'm backing on the Cam Akers train. Like it's just set up for him this year to have a big successful season, and I don't like the only thing that's holding him back is the injury, which he's coming 2 years off of. Because right now this offense, he's set up to be the workhorse, and he's set up to get receiving work because they have no other receivers outside of Cooper Kupp. He's going to have to be used in the area, and he's proven that he can not be elite asset in that area, but be okay. He can be very solid. And if he's the workhorse back for the Rams, he's going to be a top 15 running back in fantasy. Like if he gets that role, it's very hard for him to finish outside the top 15 in fantasy.
If Stetson Bennett is starting, it
And
might
stay
be.
healthy all year.
And obviously, like stay healthy majority.
That's always a thing. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
running back.
he-
That's a running back
yeah, that's
position.
running back. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Cam
can't argue
Akers-
against Akers.
Cam Akers is part of the reason why I think doing projections can hurt you. Like if you project the Rams, I think you're going to rank Cam Akers high, but I don't think you should. I don't think you should. I think doing projections hurt you because I think it's a little bit, not saying that he's Mike Davis from a couple of years ago, but I think sometimes you have backfields where you lack another person to project the carries to, and you struggle to give them someone else with confidence. So when doing projections, Cam Akers is going to come out very high, but I've learned that you have to go beyond projections, and that projections sometimes get in your way and lead you astray. And Cam Akers is one where I think they lead you astray. I think he's someone who is just proven that he doesn't get involved in the passing game enough for me. For fantasy, it's not enough. 29 games played and 27 receptions is not enough. That's like Derrick Henry levels. Like that's
I mean,
bad.
there's a lot of those games where he wasn't fully healthy, he wasn't involved, and the times where he was truly like the guy
large
for the
number of
offense.
games,
Especially
though.
last year.
It's a large number. I mean, there were 14 starts in there.
29 games.
14 starts in there in 27 receptions. I mean, it's really
he's not going to get the receptions. I think if you're drafting Cam
it's not gonna
Akers,
be-
you're
but he's
going
not
off
efficient
of-
either. He's not efficient. He hasn't been efficient in either of his 2 years. And that was when the offense was better. How bad could it? I mean, I think the Rams could be one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, they're gutted their team and added nobody.
With a healthy Matthew Stafford and Sean
Well, we know
McVay
he's
there.
not healthy. Luckily, we know he's not. I can tell you he's
If-
not healthy. It's a question of how bad.
If Matthew Stafford
Wouldn't
is
that
as
mean-
good as
if he's
as
not-
fine as he was 2 years ago, then they're
Well,
gonna
that's
not be
literally
one of the
not
worst teams in
possible
the league.
because he's not the same player. He is not healthy right
Well,
now.
If his
He's
arm
not healthy.
wouldn't that mean more dumps though? Wouldn't that mean a lot of shorter passes, which could favor the running back position?
I don't think Cam
Could it?
Akers.
Because I mean,
it
like
could.
Akers, when you watch him catch the ball, he looks good. It's not that he looks elite; it looks good.
No, I
If
I
he
think
can
he's
catch
fine.
the ball. He can.
I just don't know
He can.
that they're going to be throwing the ball a lot to the running
So
back.
he is a volume-based guy, to your point, and I think if he
Yes,
can get
yeah.
that volume like he did the last 4 weeks of the season, I mean, Akers was the top 5 back the last 4 games of the season when they were leaning on him and relying on him. He was behind McCaffrey, Eckler, and then Jerick McKinnon because he had those 2 monster games. But Akers was definitely very serviceable when he got that volume. It's just, is he going to stay healthy with that type of volume all season, and how much do you trust that? Because I agree, the skill set I don't think is elite. I think he thrives off of the volume in that Rams system.
Yeah, over the last 3 games, he had 19, 21, and 23 carries, and I do not expect that the Rams are intending to do that. That's not my expectation for their intention. I think that the question is, who is going to get the rest of the carries? That's why there's no value to these players.
Who would they give that to? I mean, there's just nobody
Well, it's going to be
else.
someone. That's the thing. That's the interesting thing is who it's going to be. but they will give it to someone because they can't imagine that their intention, because it didn't really work for them very well. I mean,
Akers was averaging over 5 yards a carry in each of the last 4 games.
but it wasn't,
The last
it's
6
because they had
games,
nothing
yeah.
else.
Finally
They couldn't do
effective
anything
with the ball.
else.
Oh,
And he looked effective with the ball. He looked
And the offensive
you
line-
watch him on film in those last 4 games. He looked extremely
The
effective.
Rams'
with the ball.
offensive line has, and along with every other part of their team, has been obliterated. Bad.
They
is
drafted
so
offensive
bad.
linemen pretty early.
did.
I'm glad they
Their
managed
O-line
to do
wasn't
that.
great last year. It wasn't good last year either.
It was good down the
O-line
stretch.
wasn't-
It was good down the stretch, and now
Okay.
it's been obliterated. And along with everything else. So I am skeptical about the Rams. I also worry that the Rams are going to be constantly behind and unable to run the ball. I mean, they ran the ball down the stretch when they didn't care about winning. But if they're constantly behind, is the game script going to get away from him? Cam Akers is someone it's one of those things where, like I said, if you project the numbers out, it's going to have Cam Akers high. But I sense that there are some problems.
What do you think
But
on
I-
Zach Evans then? Do you think he
Oh,
takes
I-
some of that volume? I mean, he's a late
Yeah,
round pick, but I
look,
feel like
who's
out of all the
taking
late round
volume?
picks, he's the
Who
best.
would take volume from Cam Akers right now? Zach Evans?
I would lean towards Zach Evans. It, obviously it could just be Kyron Williams like it was
Kyren Williams,
at
yeah, I
times
was right.
last year. But
No.
that's always the trap, is who will take volume. There always is someone. You see NFL teams giving carries to nobodies all the time. I mean, the Jets gave multiple large carry volumes to Zonovan Knight, who is a nobody. I mean, you see it all the time. Players come out of nowhere to get carries. It happens on every single year on at least 5 teams. It happens, and there's always someone to take carries. It's very rare that the intention is to give someone everything. That's reserved for superstars like even Christian McCaffrey. When Elijah Mitchell was healthy, Christian McCaffrey was splitting touches. I mean, everything is reserved for very few people. And Cam Akers is not on that list. They gave him everything out of necessity when other players were
But
injured when they had no one
If
else.
other players are stealing, if other players are stealing touches from everybody, then why is an argument against Cam Akers specifically?
Oh no, but
Because
the
if you're-
argument for it. But if you give Cam Akers the problem when doing projections is you have to choose who's going to get it. Whereas I can just say he's not going to get it, not do the projections because the projections aren't going to line up. I can just say it's not going to happen because I can't. The problem is if I make projections for the Rams, it has to include more carries for Cam Akers than I think he's going to get. Because I actually think the Rams are a team that could have carries going to players I've never even heard of, who wouldn't even be in my projections, like Zonovan Knight last year on the Jets, for example.
And
So
Zach
I-
Evans shouldn't have gone in the 6th. I like Zach Evans.
I
more
agree with
than-
that too, but it's not like I want Zach Evans. I would just say that Cam Akers is someone that is just not for me. And I would, he's a trap. The volume available running back trap it's always the same thing. Oh, by the way, it's the same mistake every year. Every year, the same mistake. The apparent volume running back always goes too high when everything else about their situation says no, but the volume's there. So James Conner is going to be another player I'm not in on this year.
I mean, he's also flashed a lot of talent though in his few in the games where he's been healthy. He's flashed real talent. It's not
He's
like we've
flashed
seen
talent, but
nothing
for the
from him.
most part, he hasn't been he has not really been that great, and the offense is going to be bad. So you need him to get the volume to deliver. And that's the thing that's actually, you think it's easy to project, but that's actually the thing that's the hardest to project outside of elite players. The volume can go away in an instant. And that's the other thing. At running back, and I always remind people of this, and that's why it's so dangerous to rely on volume. At running back, volume is usually given by the coaching staff. It's usually given. Remember, this coaching staff during the middle of last year just decided that Cam Akers, for no reason, was inactive. This same coaching staff just randomly, for no reason, just decided he was inactive and decided Darrell Henderson was better, and then just randomly changed their mind 6 weeks later for no reason. Outside of elite players, running back volume is usually given by the coaching staff. Receiver targets tend to more be earned based on player skill. So if you're relying on volume over what's been shown on the field, it's usually a trap. It's usually how you end up with Mike Davis. And Jordan Howard and Matt Breida that one year were taken over by Myles Gaskin. usually get trapped there. So Cam Akers is a hard pass for me. It's probably one of the players I'll have the least interest in. James Conner will also be on that list because everything is kind of against James Conner, but the volume's there. So I'm not going to have him either. Xavier Hutchinson or Tank Dell? Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Tank Dell.
Draft capital.
That one's not hard.
Yep.
I do like Xavier. Xavier Hutchinson should not be on waiver wires. I would say in Dynasty he should be added, but Tank Dell is
Xavier Hutchinson like a 5th round pick?
6th.
He's 6th. Yeah. He's
Kind of surprised actually. I thought he'd go earlier. To be honest,
I mean, class with he's got good size, and
yeah, it's
not all that matters,
strange to me that he fell to the 6th. I'll just say that I found that strange.
Same with A.T. Perry. He had production, size, and ran decent.
I like
numbers.
Xavier Hutchinson a lot better than A.T. Perry.
Interesting.
I would agree there. Yeah.
But surprising on both counts. Xavier Hutchinson, I expected to go in the 3rd or the 4th. So, yeah, but opportunity. So, we'll see. Taking Laporta over Meyer, it's interesting. I think it's pretty normal. I've seen a mix.
They're usually like neck and neck.
They're right neck and neck. I think though, I don't think I would do it in Dynasty. I think I'd still take Mayer. But if you ask me the question, who do you think has the better chance of making impact week 1? I think it's Laporta.
I think that at a time,
I mean, Detroit has nobody. Detroit
Right
has
after the draft.
nobody outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have nobody. Nobody.
I'm not really thinking about that too much. It's more like after the draft, I had Meyer.
From the Dynasty perspective, I still want Mayer, but I was just playing a devil's advocate for Sam Laporta.
I had Meyer way ahead. And then since then, the gap is closed because things going on the Raiders have been very bad. And things going on in Detroit about Laporta have all been good. So that's what's closed the gap more than anything.
It reminds me in 2018, I took a lot of heat because I had Mark Andrews as my tight end 1 of that class. Sam Laporta reminds me coming out of an undervalued guy from a fantasy prospect the way Mark Andrews was.
Yeah. But Dalton Kincaid is different to me than Hayden Hurst.
Yes. Yeah.
Michael Meyer is better comparison for Hayden Hurst.
Yeah. That's, I think, a great comp, actually.
I think Michael Meyer has a lot more potential than Hayden Hurst, mostly because he's younger. So I think he has a lot more opportunities. Yeah, has a lot more opportunities to deliver. Michael Meyer, though, I will say, unlike Hayden Hurst, has much more production. He has excellent production. I mean, the production is excellent. He is a very good prospect. Based on production, not based on athleticism, but based on production, he's excellent. Excellent. I mean, he's one of the better ones we've had. Not Kyle Pitts, but like excellent level of production, which Laporta doesn't have. So I think it's going to be a test. I think it's going to be a test of what's more important, athleticism or production. And then next year, we're going to have someone who does everything. That's going to be nice. We're going to have someone who does all of it. We're going to have athleticism and production.
That's right.
That I'm going to like. Mm-hmm. But this year, you kind of have to choose.
I will say, though, for Laporta with the production, like George Kittle didn't produce at Iowa. Like it's just a little bit the nature of the system.
Big tight ends don't always have to produce. It doesn't always have production.
They don't always have to produce. But on the flip side of that, tight ends who
produce are awesome.
Usually do really well.
Yeah.
So like tight ends with Michael Myers production usually succeed. It's very rare to have a tight end with 2 800-yard seasons in college. 67 and 71 receptions in those 2 years. That's very rare to have someone coming in with that kind of track record. It happens every once in a while, but most classes don't have that. They don't have anyone like that. Last year didn't. There's no one with that kind of production profile.
I was surprised to see him the 3rd tight end drafted.
I was also surprised.
I think
the athleticism scared teams off, but players with having that kind of production profile, especially at Notre Dame, which is not a passing school.
No,
not a passing school. Not a passing school.
No.
Is 800 yards. I wrote the post-draft article for Michael Meyer for DLF. And the passing percentage, it hasn't come out yet, but that 800 was a very large percent of Notre Dame's. I mean, he led the team in receiving with 800, which is not that much. So
I had a good conversation with Logan Paulson, who's a former Washington Commander tight end, and I agreed with him at this point. We talked about how tight ends that win with contested catches in college generally don't produce that type of production in the pros. And that's what scares me with a guy like Michael Myers. Like he won with contested catches. When guys are bigger, faster in the pros, that's the gap for me. Sam Laporta to me is more like a tank. He is a better route runner. He's more athletic, better athletic profile. So for me, it's a big difference between those two for me.
Especially for fantasy, right? In your mind, at least. Well, I'm putting words in your mouth, but for fantasy, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for making yards happening.
I think Michael Myers is a good receiver. I don't think he's just size.
Yeah,
no. If you want a player,
he'll catch
size,
the ball.
It exists in this class. Darnell Washington was available in this class. Someone who doesn't know how to play receiver at all. I mean, that player existed in the NFL. No, thank you. Michael Myers.
Well, a third round pick. No, thank you. Not quite.
They said no, thank you to being a relevant weapon. I mean,
he's not going to be a relevant weapon, unfortunately.
No, Michael Myers. I don't care about. Yes, you can win with contested catches, but you don't have 2 800-yard seasons at Notre Dame, which doesn't pass by accident. It can't be an accident. No. I mean, you can't have that kind of receiving market share. I mean, it is one of the best receiving market shares for a tight end, that we've had of the prospects recently. It's very, very strong. It's not a mistake. I don't think so. I don't think it could be a mistake. So I'll have to be in on Michael Myers until he proves that he can't carry over that production from college to the NFL. But most of the time, it does carry over. The one that really I think is going to be very interesting, though, is Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, I think, is more of like Michael Myers. We have players like Michael Myers. We know that players like Michael Myers usually come in. They're very good. Maybe not elite, but they're very good. We have such a long track record of Michael Myers. We don't have a long track record of Dalton Kincaid's. You don't have
drafted in the first round.
No, we don't. We don't have a lot of players like that.
No.
I've been wanting to Dalton Kincaid way up. I've been wanting to move him up.
It's just interesting, it's just interesting. We don't have.
So intriguing.
I mean, he's 6'4", very tall. Does have
looks
production.
like a receiver.
Looks like a receiver, but
he's a wide receiver.
But he's not Kyle Pitts either. Kyle Pitts is a different type of player.
No, it's more his body type. Like he doesn't have that like thick lower half that you see a lot of the higher end tight ends have. He looks like a receiver.
I think he's going to be very interesting to see. Pick up Bellinger on the buy low. I mean,
yeah, I'm good.
I'm just not waiting that long.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be dropped by the end of this year, and then maybe I pick him off waivers. Okay, Treylon Burks. What packages have you seen him go for? So on and so forth.
I haven't seen many. I'm gonna go to the DLF Trade Finder, see if I can find some.
So Treylon Burks is undervalued. I don't really understand his current value. Like his current DLF ADP is so low. I don't. Like, am I just?
Well, I think a lot of people out there don't even think he had a good rookie season.
He's at wide receiver.
If you just
29.
look at the stats, he did not have a good rookie season. But he made some plays and he looked impressive on the field. I like Treylon Burks and I think he's going to have a solid year.
I just traded for him actually in a.
What'd you do?
So I traded. I had Sky Moore. And I traded a 24. And I traded a 24 first, which could be high, but I view myself as a contender in that 14-team league.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Sky Moore in that, and I was able to get pick 203 in this last draft plus Treylon Burks. So I liked
that, man. Let's go.
I loved that value. So that was.
I love that. That's a late first. That's great. Yeah, that's excellent.
If it ends up being late, like we always talk about, but like my team's pretty deep.
No, I love that.
Yeah,
I'm with that. I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. It made me like log in again. I'm trying to go to the DLF Trade Finder, see if I can find Burks.
A sell. There's not. I mean, I think there'll be a better sell window because his value's so low. I don't.
Let's see.
Okay, I think he's going to make plays early next season, and if you do want to get out from underneath of him, that would be the time to do it. So yeah, I agree with you, Tyler.
I think he's pretty low right now.
Treylon Burks for J.K. Dobbins. That was just a few days ago.
I'll take Burks easily.
Yeah,
Burks not even close. Yeah, Burks. Burks for Baker in a super flex league. Burks for Baker Mayfield, Elijah Moore, and a 25 second round pick. That's Traylon Burks.
Jesus,
Burks
that
very
is a
easily.
steal for Burks.
Super flex league, Traylon Burks for 203, 303, and 409. Yeah, that's Traylon Burks.
Big Burks.
Brandon
Yeah.
Ayuk or Traylon Burks. Brandon Ayuk or Traylon Burks. That's Traylon Burks.
Burks,
110
yeah, I'll take
Traylon
Burks
Burks.
easily.
That's Traylon-
And Burks and Ayuk is higher in DLF's ADP, and I just don't get it.
It's
That's
proving the
crazy.
point
No,
that he is
that's
undervalued even
absolutely-
more. Right?
So undervalued.
He's not a sell. He's
Definitely
not.
not a
Burks
sell.
buy.
Waller is
not
dust.
bad.
I don't know if Waller's dust. What about Kenneth
No.
Walker? Kenneth Walker, I think we have someone who's on the other side of
Yeah.
it. Kenneth Walker is still
Yeah.
RB7 and 23rd overall in DLF's one QB
That's
ADP, but
crazy.
RB7 I think is a
Wow.
little.
That's high.
Man, I'm
He's saying
more
13
worried about
for me.
Kenneth Walker than I am about Travis Etienne because
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I
you got it.
think
Yeah.
there is a universe. To be honest with you, I don't think there's a universe in which a healthy Tank Bigsby is the starter over a healthy Travis Etienne. I don't think that universe exists.
Agreed.
I think Tank Bigsby could hurt Travis Etienne. I think that's the universe we live in. I think we live in where Travis Etienne's ceiling was top 5 and his floor was a mid RB2. And now we live in a different universe where his ceiling is like RB10 and his floor is like RB20, 25. So our universe has changed. With Kenneth Walker, I think we live in a universe where the ceiling is pretty good, but the floor is Zach Charbonnet is the starter. Like, I think that universe exists.
Like
And
we
that is
see it,
scary.
like you see it a lot where you see like ambiguous backfields. There's a big breakout from one of them. We've seen it multiple times in 50 years where like if there's two guys, one of them just steps as the clear leader. If that happens in this backfield, someone's going to be very mad. Like someone's going to be really frustrated to either have Ken Walker or Zach Charbonnet in their fantasy team. And yeah, Ken Walker right now for me in Dynasty is RB13. So if he's really going as the RB7 or 8, like I'm not in on that price. I think that's way too high.
I would consider taking Travis Etienne ahead of Kenneth Walker.
I think I've got
Travis Etienne
him
and
ranked.
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah,
I got
and
him.
they're neck and neck for me, and I am completely fine with that.
I've got Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, all ranked ahead of Ken Walker.
Wow.
I actually do have Etienne over Walker too, which I was surprised to go back and look at. I was like, so
You guys talking about? Oh, wait,
Yeah.
okay.
I saw a really interesting stat today. I would shout it out whoever tweeted, but found a really interesting stat where Ken Walker on runs where he didn't go for 15 plus yards, so his non crazy explosive runs, he was averaging 2.7 yards per attempt, which was really interesting.
I think you could do
to
that
see
for a lot of guys.
You could do that for a lot of running backs. I saw that stat.
I kind of like it. It's a
Saquon
stat.
Barkley is on that list, I will say.
Oh,
I like
Saquon
it.
definitely. Saquon's definitely
Saquon Barkley is on that
There's-
list, and I don't think anyone's getting rid of Saquon Barkley. So
No,
Miles
but
Sanders
J.K.
is also, I
Dobbins
think,
is
on that list.
list.
I bet J.K. Dobbins.
I can tell you Ezekiel Elliott's not on that list. Ezekiel Elliott, I don't think it's
But
had a
J.K.
breakaway
Dobbins, I
run
guess,
in 2
was-
years.
No,
But he had so many long
Um,
ones.
no, there was
J.K.
no
Dobbins
long-
had a lot of mid-tier.
He did have a lot of. He did have. You said over 15 yards. How?
because he
long?
had a
It's
lot of
15
runs.
It's 15 plus. Yeah.
15 plus.
15.
J.K. Dobbins had a decent amount of those.
J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins,
A
the
couple.
reason why J.K. Dobbins was disappointing last year is that some of those didn't turn into touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a 20-yard run that should have been a 50-yard run.
Yes. And then he
Yeah.
kind of like his one leg just looks slower than the other one.
I
right?
had Kenneth Walker, I will say, is a player I've seen
Nuts.
wild differences. I've seen some people still valuing
Ken
him near
Walker?
his original
Oh,
price,
yeah,
and I've seen
no.
some people drop him off the face of the existence. And I think
Yep.
the truth is somewhere in between. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm just like, because the thing is like, you want to say, oh, it's gonna be like a 60-40 split, but we've like, as I was just saying a second ago, we've seen two backs compete and one of them just straight up take over. If that happens, one of these guys is going to get completely obliterated and thrown off the planet for fantasy.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
so-
I think that's why they invested so heavily in Charbonnet, and I think that's why I'm most concerned about Walker, though. And here's an interesting stat. I just pulled it up.
It's interesting.
He had 21 runs, Kenneth Walker, last year of 20 plus. So if every run of those 20 was 20 yards, that's 40% of his yards on 20 plus carries, which is pretty interesting. and it's more than that because that's using the lowest number. But
in early draft rankings, Kenneth Walker. Let's see, redraft
Like
is
redraft?
the RB15. That's actually I might have some Kenneth Walker if he's RB15.
in redraft, I'll definitely at 15. I'll have some.
15 is not bad.
Would you rather
It's
have
not
him or Tony
horrible.
Pollard?
Oh, Tony Pollard
Yeah.
in redraft.
Oh yeah.
How about
Yep.
Stevenson, Ramondre?
I'll take
Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
This is an RB1.
How about Miles Sanders?
Not Miles Sanders. I'll take
Yeah,
Walker.
I didn't think so.
I might. That's close for me.
Miles Sanders is
Really?
terrifying
Oh,
to me.
serious.
Yeah. No.
He was
Miles
so
Sanders,
scary, but
Miles Sanders
like-
is in
I
that
like
Cam
Frank-
Akers group of the.
I like
the
Frank
vol-
Reich. I
the-
like this offense. I like the fact that he's a
volume.
rookie.
the
I like
volume
Frank
is
Reich.
allegedly there.
Yeah,
Everything
no,
else
but you
is
have
bad.
but for this
I
one, you
love
have the
how much
offense.
Tyler going out today. It's
I know.
fantastic. It's great.
The thing is, with
Miles
this one,
Sanders is
it's
a bad player, and he is suddenly.
not a bad
He-
player.
Watch.
we
Watch
went a
this
little
year.
too far
Watch.
there. A little too
No,
far.
watch this year. He will be exposed when he's not running behind the Eagles' offensive line, when he's not running behind that offense. I think you're going to see him very exposed. I don't think he's good at all. I don't think he's a good running back.
At all.
I think he's replacement level.
He's a
I really
kid.
do. I think he's replacement
No,
level.
no.
Replacement
No,
level.
he's a
I
good
really do.
running back.
I really don't see anything in Miles Sanders that I like. Nothing. I think he's going to be exposed this year for the fraud that he is.
Who's better?
Really do.
The Panthers
I
are
really don't
good.
see it.
Terry McLaurin's better than Miles Sanders, I guess.
Terry McLaurin's really good.
Okay.
He just hasn't
making sure.
had the
Just making sure.
situation.
Well,
I'm
that's
just,
why
Miles
it's
Sanders
already
is a
feel good
fraud.
about
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
see it.
Terry
He's-
McLaurin, by the way, let's put some respect on his name first off.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Wide receiver 14 in PPR last year. It's not like he's like some
Have
Joe
you
Schmo with
seen
terrible
the-
quarterback play.
no, I'm with you.
Have you seen the comparison, the compilation
you.
of the ball
I'm with
bouncing
you.
off Miles Sanders' helmet?
There've been a few.
Quite a long
I
video.
don't.
Like, I don't like.
I
I
don't
don't,
know.
see like Sanders. Obviously, the volume's going to be there, and we've seen him produce in the past. Obviously, he was behind a
Volume's
very
not gonna
stud,
be
like,
there.
Eagles.
The volume's
They're
not going to
not
be
very
there. They're
good
going to
at
be
Eagles offense.
They're a terrible team.
Reich
They're going to
is
be constantly
consistently-
behind.
Frank Reich is consistently a coach that uses one back.
Good luck with that.
Frank Reich has been that his entire
Good luck with
career.
that.
Miles Sanders is a decent
Yeah,
passer.
Jonathan Taylor for most of that. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor for most of that. Miles Sanders is not that. We saw
Frank already
how
seen
it worked
Frank
down the
multiple
stretch.
times he's using Miles Sanders as the real
we
quarterback.
saw how it worked
There's
down
already
the
been
stretch.
multiple times where he said that.
Down the stretch, it's not going to happen. Down the stretch, Miles Sanders was completely scripted out of the passing game where he belongs because he can't succeed in that area. He was taken off the game plan completely because he sucked, and they were better off not using him. And then the Panthers, irresponsible
you guys.
franchise, the Carolina Panthers, wasted
Yes, not even a 4-year deals, not.
$24 million on him when he's not worth even half of that.
All right, we can all agree there.
We'll see. We'll
They
see what
overpaid
happens.
for him, they did.
We'll see.
I-
They can have his 20.
I like the coaching
They
staff.
can
I like the
have his
offensive
20
line.
receptions for 78 yards. They can have that. 20 receptions for 78 yards. It was so good. He was so involved in the passing game despite playing all 17 games. 20 receptions. It's a disaster is coming.
So are you not going to rank him as a top 24 running back, Tyler, for redraft?
Well, I mean, the ECR has him at 21, and I don't even know if you have to rank him somewhere. But it also
Yeah,
has
I know.
Alvin
I know
Kamara
you
at
got to rank him
28.
somewhere.
So I don't know.
128
we'll have to
is
see
kind
if
of where
that
you're
holds
feeling.
up. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to have him in the top 24. I don't.
Yeah, man.
I
I'm
just
not
think
saying that's wrong.
He's on
I'm
on a disastrous team. That's a disaster across the board.
The
And
offensive
he's,
line's actually been playing okay. And they're younger.
well, we'll
they're
have to
getting
see.
better.
I mean, it's
Offensive
going to
line's
play
being
really
very
well.
good.
You're correct. You're not wrong.
mean,
I
don't know.
It's not
I
the worst
think-
offensive line in the league.
I think you're going to be able to stack the box against the rookie quarterback. I don't think you're going to be able to run. They're going to be constantly behind. I don't think the team is very good. Not optimistic about Miles Sanders.
I'm trusted. I want to put my trust in Frank Reich because he's been able to.
Why?
Obviously, he had Jonathan Taylor.
It's a great
Frank Reich's
question.
been able
Actually,
to
let's
develop really. Frank,
Well,
all Frank has done is produce
develop
fantasy
what
football.
exactly?
Frank
Frank Reich is the one who was responsible. His wonderful judgment.
We've seen it.
Oh, really?
we've
His
seen
wonderful
him produce good running
judgment.
backs.
Well, he developed.
We've seen
Jonathan
good
Taylor.
running
That
games
was
from
so.
Frank
That was
Reich
so. That was so
consistently.
hard to do.
Let
Yeah,
me
that
let
was
me
so
give
hard to
Hutch
do.
a
Very
little
good
bit of
running games
a
from Frank
a
Reich.
Well,
prop
no,
here,
I mean
though.
Frank Reich.
Yeah,
Remember,
but
this is
he's
the
not-
Frank Reich who wanted to start
He
Marlon Mack.
coached past Jonathan
Well,
Taylor.
he wanted to
Jonathan
start Marlon
Taylor.
Mack over Jonathan Taylor. It's the Frank Reich who's so genius. Frank Reich wanted to bring in Matt Ryan, and then he thought that bringing in Carson Wentz as a reclamation project was a good idea.
I wasn't saying
You-
about
no, there's
quarterback play. I was
more.
saying about the run
No,
game.
no, but everything,
wait,
every decision
there's
he
more.
made is
Carson Wentz
bad.
is not a running back.
No,
Neither
but
is Matt
every
Ryan.
but Hutch, every decision. Frank Reich gets credit for being good at evaluating offense, but he actually doesn't know anything about that. Every decision he made was bad. He was totally unprepared with the depth behind Michael Pittman, and it came to bite them in the ass over the last few years. He brought in horrible quarterbacks, failed to develop any sort of backup plan to Jonathan Taylor. There was no backup plan this year. He had nothing, and then that came to bite him in the ass. So he was totally unprepared. You know, he led his team into the ground and then was then fired. So I don't know why Frank. That's the one thing I don't understand is why Frank Reich should give me confidence just because he wanted to start Marlon Mack over Jonathan Taylor and he was bailed out by Marlon Mack's Achilles injury.
Let me play devil's
Why
advocate
Frank
there, though.
Gives me
So
any
Frank-
confidence in anything.
Let him do
Frank
it.
Reich, 2018 through 2022, he's had Jonathan Taylor for a lot of those. To Hutch's point, he does use one running back. And Marlon Mack in his 2 years in 2018 and 2019 finished 21st and 22nd in PPR. So if you feel like
That's
Miles
not bad.
Sanders has a better skill set than Marlon Mack, which I do, I think you are
Yeah, I would
looking
agree.
at that like,
Yeah,
you
come
know,
on.
probably mid 15 range.
They had a
running
lot
back
better
for
offensive
Miles
offensive
line
line
before
than
Jonathan
Carolina
Taylor. He
Panthers
did-
do now.
I will give you credit. He did fall apart, but like he fall apart with like Jonathan Taylor like that those last couple of years in Indianapolis. He fell apart. But he used Jonathan Taylor as a workhorse back. We saw him use Marlon Mack as a workhorse back, and he's very good for fantasy. And I was in an offense with Carolina with a rookie quarterback who you don't want to put too much pressure on, with Miles Sanders back, who had a lot of success in Philadelphia when healthy. Obviously, health is a big concern for him. But I just like there is a lot of opportunity here in an offense with Frank Reich that uses a workhorse back and knows how to make a run game work.
There's
I try-
opportunity where I
try.
feel like he's top 20, but I don't think there's a scenario where you see Miles Sanders in
There's
like the
passing
top 10.
upside. But
Right.
where is he drafted right now? Because I'm pretty sure he's drafted outside the top 20 right now. At that point, I feel like the ADP is worth it.
I agree with that. If he's outside of the top 20, for sure.
Let me see it.
I just think he's so bad.
He's not.
But I
bad.
think the Hutch's point, so is Marlon Mack, right? Like Marlon Mack's not a very talented running back, 21st, 22nd in 2 years because of the volume. So, and I think he catches a little bit better than
Sorry,
Mack,
Hutch.
doesn't he?
RB17.
Ah, got him.
Yeah, that's
RB17.
that's
That's
probably,
probably
if I were-
appropriate.
because I haven't done like redraft rankings. Like that's probably where he would probably slot in around there, like 17 to 20. So I would
I'll
see-
try
I
to
would
draft
see no
talented
doubt
players
there.
on my roster and avoid players who suck. But that's just my approach.
Mhm.
So we
You
had all
took Aaron
that
Jones.
debate.
Aaron
We had all
Jones
that-
over Miles Sanders. Aaron Jones.
Oh, absolutely. Aaron Jones.
Oh, yeah,
Aaron Jones is still
100%.
good.
Aaron Jones over Miles Sanders. Definitely.
I'm
Aaron
trying
Jones
to name
wasn't
people. I'm
benched.
trying to find the ground.
Aaron
That's
Jones
me.
wasn't benched down the stretch and completely taken off the field
Yeah,
when
Rogers
it mattered the
17.
most.
It's like Mixon, Swift, Montgomery, Dobbins. Like that's where you're kind of bringing Miles
Yeah, I'm
Sanders
looking-
into the conversation.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
think.
at
Also, the
fantasy
track
pros
record of
there,
running backs
see-
visiting new teams on these new contracts is really bad.
It is bad.
Really bad. When their
Hey,
old
Hey,
team
Hutch.
when their old team is
What?
no thanks, we don't want you, and then they go somewhere else, they don't tend to do well. This is just
What's up,
tends
Josh?
to be, and I trust the Eagles more than the Panthers. They said no
Makers or
thank you.
Miles Sanders.
Makers or Cam Makers? I'll take Cam Makers.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. That's actually a
Actually,
very interesting question.
I actually
I'd
believe
rather-
it. I honestly believe in Akers' talent more. I believe the workload will be there more.
Okay.
Oh man, I think
Actually,
they're both bad, but I
They're both struggling, but on opposite sides.
yeah, they're both
Yeah, but
bad.
I'm like, I know
Why
I'm
put
playing
lower?
very heavy for Miles Sanders and like thinking like I don't have him ranked as like a top 15 guy. You know, like I'm probably ranking like
I know what you're both
I'm
saying.
ranking borderline top. I'm ranking borderline top 20. If he's going
Neither one of
RB17,
you
he's
sound
high.
completely idiotic. You know, you're both making good
No.
points. So
That's
like,
funny.
I think
The funny thing is, we
What?
got to the point where it was like, all right, he's actually probably drafted appropriately. All of that.
All right.
after all of that, yeah, we found he's RB17. It's like, all right, whatever, sure.
I take the talent
No.
with Kittle over Goddard.
No, I would definitely have got over Kittle.
I do think that Kittle is more talented than Goddard.
Yes.
I will
Oh, no,
say
no,
that.
that's not
I will say that.
that.
In real life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You switch their situations, maybe like it's an easy Kittle over Goddard, right? You know what I'm saying?
In real life, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Kittle's definitely the better player.
But in real life, yeah. But in fantasy, I mean, I think the main difference between Kittle and Goddard is that Kittle's a better blocker. I'm really not sure that Kittle's significantly better.
I think he's better with the ball in his hands. He's just a great receiver, you know?
I think Dallas Goddard is underappreciated.
Sure.
Both of those are right.
But
Goddard's tough for me because he's the clear number 3 in his offense, and there's no upside.
Goddard
for
is
him
just
being-
a guy as a blocker, though, whereas Kittle is excellent. That's why Kittle's a Pro Bowler and Goddard really isn't. That's the difference in terms of real life. Oh, there was missed time. I mean, Deebo Samuel missed a few games. There was also the part that Christian McCaffrey wasn't there. That changed some things. And then also Elijah Mitchell missed time, which caused Christian McCaffrey to be used more as a runner and out of the receiving game. You could see the total change in McCaffrey's usage when Elijah Mitchell was in and out. That totally changed the offense as well. So there was some missed time, but we'll see. George Kittle also has to stay healthy, which is the other thing I don't like about George Kittle is that just randomly he's just scripted out of games, which I find to be very strange. He just vanishes for no reason. That's probably another reason I don't like him.
Yeah, Debo missed 4 games, 5 starts.
Yeah, but the the underrated thing is when Elijah Mitchell missed time, it changed the entire offense when McCaffrey was there. The entire offense changed. When Elijah Mitchell came back, it was very different. Christian McCaffrey was used more in a receiving role, which changed everything.
Yep.
And I do also think they have McCaffrey now from the start, which not in the middle. I think McCaffrey is going to get even more target. I mean, McCaffrey only had 52 receptions in 11 games played. I mean, that's low for McCaffrey. 464 yards.
Could be higher than that. Yeah.
I could see him get more receiving usage, especially if Elijah Mitchell's healthy. So I'm not sure that George Kittle is going to do better. Also, Debo struggled with injuries, and he had to see time in the rushing game because of all the injuries to the running backs. So, yeah, again, I think there's a lot of possibility. I mean, Debo only had 56 receptions last year for 632 yards and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle had 60 receptions and 11 touchdowns. We think that's going to repeat last year in 2021. No. Debo was the touchdown outlier.
I mean, yeah, no,
so
George Kittle was
a lot of
ridiculous.
concerns. A lot of
concerns. Kittle. Last year with Kittle, though, I will point out, it was at least somewhat interesting because if you took his last, I believe it was 6 games where he was on the crazy touchdown pace, he was seeing enough targets to the point where even if you cut his touchdowns in half, in that span, he was averaging just under 13 fantasy points per game, which isn't an elite number by any means. But at the time position, that's probably ranking top 3.
Yeah, but that's also assuming. I mean, of George Kittle's of the great 7-game stretch with Brock Purdy, he had less than 30 receiving yards in 5 of those 7 games.
Yeah,
so it was he relied on those touchdowns.
Yes,
I'll take Lawrence in the 24 first over Herbert in the 24 second. I like Herbert more, but not that much.
Yeah,
same.
That's a pretty easy.
Exactly, like Herbert, slightly more. I would draft him ahead, but
the first step potential to be high, it's just like that would be such a steal.
Yeah. And I appreciate everyone in the chat today. I appreciate everyone in the chat. We
got some fun questions in here.
I appreciate that. And if you're here, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. And don't forget the super chats as well. But yeah, I appreciate the chat. I know we haven't talked a lot about the show topic, but at the end of the day, the live show, I always look at it this way. We have a show topic as a backup plan if there isn't much to talk about in the chat. I would rather you guys came in live in the chat to talk about things. If you guys have a lot to talk about in the chat, I would rather focus on answering the people's questions. But I always have a show topic in case it's not a very active chat. But I appreciate you guys today because we're not even going to get to all the questions today. But yeah, we also have the Ask Tyler shows. I post Ask AMAs on Twitter, and I choose from that thread. So if you ask a question in one of my AMA threads, you may have your question read on an Ask Tyler on this show. So don't forget about that. And there's also a Patreon version of that. If you sign up for the Patreon, you can ask a Patreon show question, and it'll be read on here. For those, I get to everyone. So if you're a patron, you can guarantee that I'll read it. If you're on Twitter, I have to like it. And there's the link to the Patreon. And you know, yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on the channel. But where was I? Let's see.
I don't.
Is Kamara a hold?
You have to, right? The window's gone. The window's evaporated.
I
A year
think
ago.
He's
What
so
else are you gonna
freaking
do?
low right now. It's
You can't sell him. It's done. It's over. You can't sell him. You're holding on. You're stuck with the bag.
Is he even a bag?
I was just gonna say, I feel like he's getting when we talk about guys that are undervalued. I feel like people just forgot about Alvin Kamara. Like, I'm still in on him a little bit. Not in Dynasty, but like, you know, for redraft for next year.
I've been drafting him in every underdog draft I've been doing. He's RB31 right now. What could possibly go wrong? At
Suspended for the whole
RB31.
season.
in a
but
redraft
yeah.
underdog thing, he's running back 31. That just kind of
A
shows
lot.
like,
He
how,
could be washed and be done for.
But still, it's,
Like
If he's not suspended, RB31 is a steal.
Yes.
In redraft. Could the Titans be just a complete disaster? Not well. I think they will be, but
it's
you
not a
can
criminal
have a
yeah.
good receiver, one good receiving weapon you can have on a disaster. We've seen it before. You can't.
I'd be a lot more worried for Burks if they didn't draft Will Levis, actually. But
I
That's
think
true.
Levis is a good fit.
Because
there,
whatever Will
actually.
Levis is, he's better than Malik Willis.
exactly, exactly.
We don't have to worry about Malik Willis going in.
if at all. Is he that much better than Ryan Tannehill, if at all? Because
think
I know
Will
Ryan,
Levis
Ryan
will not
Tannehill
run
put
as
it
much
flat.
as Ryan Tannehill, which might help.
I have more hope
it
in
might
Will
help,
Levis
but-
than I do in the upside of Ryan Tannehill. I think Levis has a chance to be a good, and I'm actually a kind of Levis detractor, but like I still think there's some skill set there, and I think he has.
I
some
think it's
upside.
less.
always
I think that
understood
has
signs
less
of
to do with
flat.
it. I think it's more that if Ryan's now we can draft the Titans players, where if Ryan Tannehill is benched
Yeah.
or goes out, at
Yeah.
least Will Levis is going in instead of
Yeah.
Malik Willis.
Yes,
Yes.
that's fair.
So that's why I'm a little more comfortable.
And if Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback all year, he has shown before he can support one receiver, right?
yeah, I mean he's done it.
Just one.
He's supported a receiver and occasionally a tight end at times with that.
And that
Yeah.
receiver he supported was the guy that left, and Burks is replacing. So it's the same role.
I go back to Miami too. Jarvis Landry. I know Jarvis Landry is not the same receiver as Treylon Burks at all, but Jarvis Landry was consistently like a top 12 PPR guy, I think, or a couple times, right?
Yeah, he had some good seasons. No, he had some good
too
high
high.
volume seasons.
Yeah.
Some good seasons there.
Yeah. But anyway, he's never had last year was his worst. I mean, he's never had a season less than 211 passing yards a game. It's not like, Justin Fields or something or like who has
No,
any
it's
ability
not.
to do
Yeah.
anything as a passer. Yeah, throw back to those SDLF days.
Yeah.
I traded Christian Watson for Jahan Dotson in 24-second. Thoughts?
Cool with it. I like it. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Watson than Jahan, but I like Jahan Dotson a lot.
I got to
I'm a
keep
big
out of this
Watson.
because the Commanders
I'm a big-
fan.
Are you a
I'll
Dotson?
take
fan?
Watson.
I'm a big Watson fan here.
I'll
think
lean
I
Watson.
just barely.
I'm glad
I'll
you're
lean
saying
Watson.
lean,
I don't
because
really think they're in
I
the
do think
same
it's
tier.
close.
It's lean Watson, but it's close. Jahan.
I think one of these players
He's great.
has the upside to make a difference, and the other is just young.
I would.
Which is which? We'll
completely
never know.
Jahan Dotson's good, man. I really think he's good.
Jahan's good, but this offense, I don't
Good,
think
but
he's going to be able to
Jahan
support
Dotson.
him.
I forget the
Yeah.
offense. I think Jahan Dotson is just
This year might
lacking
be
in
struggling.
that
Size.
alpha upside that Christian Watson has.
Yeah, the size factor is a big.
It's not even the
It's
size. It's the ability to command a real.
I think one's
alpha
5'11"
one.
and one's 6'4".
Yeah, but you have smaller guys who are able to.
Yeah, I know. But it's
who are
part of
able
it,
to
right?
do that.
It'll be interesting to see what Bieniemy does with him because Dotson is a crazy good route runner.
Yeah.
He had a lot of. I mean, he was the touchdown receiving leader for
Terry McLaurin's
rookies
still the one,
for
though.
forever.
Watson.
And he's
beginning.
small. He's 5'11", but he can go up and get it, man. Like
That's
he's a
why they
good
loved him.
contested catch guy. You know,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
Very soft hands too. So it's interesting. I mean, what does scare me with Christian Watson is what does Christian Watson become with no Aaron Rodgers and replaced with Jordan Love? I don't think that's like an insignificant point there. So I think there's probably you've seen too high on Watson and too low on Jahan Dotson, and I think they kind of come closer to each other. So maybe that 24-second might sway me, but I think to Tyler's point, Watson's probably the best asset in the trade. So maybe I would lean that way too.
he definitely is.
But it's close to me.
All right, I will take us into rapid fire. And
All right,
then
let's
we
do it.
will
Do
end
it.
the show. And rapid fire is going to be very fast.
No.
Should I ship London for Dobbins and a 24 first? I'm going to keep London.
No.
This is
Make
going to
it
be very
London.
fast, by the way.
Ooh.
Kyle Pitts or Pat Fryermuth at a very likely early 24 first. That one hurts.
Very
but
likely.
That's
If it's going to
so
be very
fun.
early, I'll take Fryermuth.
Rock
in the
Bowers,
first.
baby.
Yeah.
I heard this. I heard this fact. This
They
Titans
were
7-3. I know.
7-3.
That's
And then
fucking
they finished
nuts.
7-10.
Wild.
All right. Even I would take
Absolutely
Bateman for the
wild.
312 and the
Oh my
402.
goodness.
Yeah. Well,
In what order would you target the following? Zach Evans, Chase Brown, Roshan Johnson, Mingo, Reed, and Musgrave. Mingo and Reed are way above the others.
Yeah, I go Mingo, Reed, Roshan, Evans, Chase Brown, Musgrave as my 6.
good summary.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of them are going to be available in the third, but
I agree with that. And then I'll also say make sure to check out the shows I'm going to do with Conan and the solo podcast feed, all the other stuff on the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Defending champ, this is too complicated. Rashid Rice plus, yeah, it's too complicated. Took Rashid 210. That's a good value. That's fine. Isn't Gibbs medium outcome DeAndre
Oh,
Swift?
no.
No,
oh,
it's not. Is Pollard going to be
Better than
a
Swift.
top 10 running back in points per game this year? Yes, but I do think Pollard is
Yeah.
someone who might be more of a 1 year.
He scares me a little.
They franchise tagged him. They have no future investment in him.
Who have you
And-
changed the most on from 22 to 23?
Ooh.
that's
a good question.
That's a really
Looking
good
at my
question.
ranks, I mean, Amon
Wow.
Ra, obviously, is a
Amon Ra is
stud.
such a
Chris
good
Olave
name
is a lot
mention.
better than I thought he would
Yeah.
be.
I
Amon Ra
wasn't
is
that high on
definitely-
Chris Olave.
The,
I love
the
it.
cop
On
out
a
answer is
negative-
Christian Watson, right? The
Yeah,
cop-out.
Christian Watson.
It
On
has the
a
cop-out.
negative side, I mean, Chase Claypool has obviously fallen out of existence.
Yeah.
And
No.
that's always a good one.
AJ Dillon, I think a lot of people were
AJ
still
Dillon,
feeling-
that's a
I
good one.
like
Yeah, AJ Dillon, I was
AJ
really
Dillon's
feeling,
really
and
good.
then he just
I
kind of
liked AJ
delivered.
Dillon a
felt
lot
him.
last year. I felt him a lot. I liked him.
And then
He fell off completely. That one sucked.
Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, I feel like, have transitioned.
Oh,
to
they
being
fall off.
washed up.
Nothing. Yeah, they fall off. The face of the planet.
Yeah. Jameson Williams is just kind of a shame. I think.
Did we ever
I'm
hear anything
afraid.
about that second gambling incident that they were trying
No,
to
it's not going to be someone we care about.
No, what?
I wouldn't worry
There's
about
another
it.
one? No.
Sell
I'm worried about
Rams. Teams are
Yeah.
never that
That's
bad for
good
that
fun.
long. I'm not going on sell all Rams, but yeah,
especially with
K-Makers,
McVay.
K-Makers and
I mean,
Cup
there's not
are
many
sells for
Rams
me
to
at their-
sell in fantasy. None of them
Yeah,
are fantasy.
K-Makers and Cup are sells for me at their dynasty prices, and so is Stafford. But we're not talking about that many things there. That's
Less
nice
toilets
for
in the
us.
house, or more toilets.
Are you
in the
in or
house.
out on Deshaun Watson at whatever value range you're seeing? Okay, so generally with Deshaun Watson, I find that the people who have Deshaun Watson are more on him than I am, and I find that I don't get him at his draft price. And if I'm helping patrons who've inherited him, I usually find that he's a hold because no one wants to pay it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Right now, I have him at QB 12 at the start of the third round of Superflex drafts in
I have
Dynasty.
him
So
higher than that.
I'm usually just missing him.
You're not getting any of him at that price.
No,
QB
I'm
12.
not getting him.
You're not getting him any of him.
Yeah. I'm not getting Watson. He's usually going in like the mid-second, so I'm gonna miss out on him.
Rich
I'm cool with it.
greater than Fields. Dak. Yeah,
No,
not
no.
for me. I have
No.
Rich above only Dak of this group.
Honestly,
Below
here's the thing
others.
though. After this season, I do not think I would be that shocked if this is true.
No, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, I have them all pretty closely
He has
ranked, so of
he
course
might
I
have
would
the
be
most
shocked.
upside
If
out of
Fields has
anybody.
if Fields has an iffy year, Dak has an iffy
No,
year.
Justin Fields has the
Watson-
most upside on this list because Justin Fields has the
100%,
ability to be. Justin Fields has the ability to be what we wanted
I
Kyler Murray
don't
to
know. I
I
thought
actually-
Anthony
Justin
Richardson
Fields-
has most upside.
I agree with Richardson. I like the skill set and I like the
Yeah, I
athletic
think-
profile.
I don't
You think
agree.
Richmond is better than these guys in Dynasty right now?
And Fields
No,
isn't
I mean-
exactly a great passer to me. So
I have Richardson over Sean
Fields
right
is the
now.
only player on this list who has shown the ability to be an elite rusher and actually throw the ball well ever. None of the other players on this list have
Oh, you
shown
mean
the ability
Average
to
and
do
the
both.
other rookies who have never played in the NFL? Yeah, you're
No,
right.
Dak is no longer an elite rusher at all. Dak barely runs
He
anymore.
was never an
after his
elite
injury.
rusher.
He
Yeah.
was pretty good his first few
He was
years.
not
but
an elite rusher.
not elite.
Tyler.
Well, sure, but then you're agreeing with me saying that he's never been elite. at
No,
rusher.
I agree. I agree.
And
with
Deshaun
you.
Watson, similarly good as a rusher, but not elite. Justin Fields has shown the ability to be in college was a competent passer. In the NFL has been an elite rusher. If he puts it all together, he has the most upside on this list by far. Anthony Richardson, I think
If
would
he
have
puts
to-
it all together, though, with his elite rushing,
well,
and
he's
his elite passing-
he's never shown the ability to actually pass the ball. That's traits. There's a difference between traits and production. I prefer production. I'd rather production.
And I think Anthony Richards' traits are better.
Then Fields.
The NFL
Well, I
agrees.
mean, he's
I
taller.
might agree.
He's taller
Oh,
and has a
okay.
bigger arm, but that doesn't always translate to better.
No,
I agree with you. I agree with you. I didn't
Yeah.
say better. I never said better. Keep going fast. Keep going fast. I held it up.
We gotta go fast. We
CJ
gotta go fast.
CJ
Stroud for
Stroud
me.
and Burks are Hollywood, and Superflex, I'll take Stroud.
Same.
Yeah.
I like Burks, but not this much.
Yeah.
And Hollywood's not enough. I'll take Stroud.
It's a lot of wide receivers though.
I'll still take Stroud. Who's a closer comp to Noah Fant? Laporta or Dalton Kincaid? Neither of them have a single thing in common with Noah Fant. Nothing.
No.
Zero in common.
Laporta.
No comp.
Laporta would be closer, but it's not a. It's
They
not
did go to
a
the same
no,
school. Good
the-
point.
yeah.
No, he
No,
went to the
That
same school.
Laporta's an apple that looks closer to that orange. All right.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no.
I like it.
Yeah, Noah Fant is a disaster.
I love that. That's a good
I
analogy.
really hope they're
I
better.
just made that up.
Yeah.
I never.
I would fist bump. I would
Let's do
fist
it,
bump
man.
you through the camera, bro. I would totally,
Yeah.
That's cool. Like it.
I agree with this. Thank you for agreeing that. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. Kittle's a better blocker, for sure. A lot better. Kittle's probably
For
the best
sure.
blocking
Yeah.
tight end in the league.
Until Darnell Washington gets in here.
Kittle is another. I said on a podcast recently, Kittle is like 70% of everything Gronk did. It's a very good player to be 70% of Gronk. I think Gronk was an excellent
A
blocker.
little bit. I think you're shorting Kittle a little bit.
maybe 80.
70% of a Hall of Famer. So
I feel better with 80. I
so
feel
bad
better
of
with
the
80.
best. I think Gronk is the best
I feel
tight
a
end who's
lot
ever
better
played.
with 80.
Not
Kittle's
the best
faster
fantasy,
than Gronk.
that's Kelsey, but I think Gronk at Gronk's best is the best tight end to ever play football.
Yeah.
At his best. 70% of the best ever is really good. That's kind of how I compared Kittle. He was excellent at everything, but not Gronk. That's why Gronk was fantasy elite and Kittle has not been fantasy elite. Because he's a great blocker that gets him scripted out.
One played with Tom Brady the
You don't
entire
script,
time.
yeah, but Gronk doesn't get
Even
scripted
in
out. 'cause
Tampa.
Gronk's special.
All right.
Gronk is special, and Kittle is not. There have been other players like Kittle.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
There's never
I'm
been
not-
another
I'm
Gronk.
not gonna- Just
Roll.
Fields,
making me
London,
upset.
Hawk for me on this one.
Yeah.
I think
We
agreed.
know
Fields
there's never
side.
been another
Back
Gronk.
in
We all know.
the
that.
Give me Fields, London, Hawk.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go that way. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna go that way. I'd rather have Fields by
Yeah,
enough over
Fields-
Dak to
It's
go that
definitely
way.
Fields London. Oh,
The elite
definitely.
quarterback is on that side.
It's close. Fields London.
The elite quarterback's on that side, so I'm gonna go with the elite quarterback. I think
Yes.
that's a good way to summarize that. Howell over Love. That is a really bad take. Sorry.
We got one person that
we
went
got one fan.
No,
I would
I'll go with
disagree
the. I'll go with the first rounder. I'll go with the guy.
Yeah, the
who
first
picks
rounder. Yeah.
How many
I
years ago
think
was that?
I think they're
Shoot.
closer than people think, but I would take Love too.
I'll take Love
There we
by
go.
a lot,
There we
multiple
go. There we
rounds.
go.
But Love is also extremely overvalued in Dynasty. I don't want Love. I don't want Howell.
No, I don't want either.
They're both overvalued. I don't want either. They're both about 2 rounds overvalued. I actually agree with the gap in value. I think the gap in value is about right. I just have them both 2 rounds later than ADP. So I'm out on both Howell and Love.
Yeah.
Thank you. How do I feel about Jacobs? Actually, I think he's kind of a buy.
I would agree. Like, I think with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think it actually could be a really nice.
I
if
just
it's
think
Jimmy.
But
But
at the volume, I like him.
he's gonna get tons of volume. He's gonna get tons of receiving work.
He's
If
not
it's
that old.
especially
He's
with
only
Jimmy.
25.
He's
He's only a year older than like JT, ETN.
He's on a franchise tag. Team's gonna run him to the
Month
Browns.
older than Najee.
Jacobs would be awesome.
I'm fine
Jacobs would
with
be
Josh
awesome.
Jacobs. Yeah, at his price. Yes, he was drafted with slightly better
Better
draft
than
capital than Kincaid. And I liked Fant more than Kincaid coming out. It's just that Fant didn't deliver. That's all. Yeah, just because Stroud had good pass catchers doesn't mean he's going to be a bust.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's
Joe
great.
Burrow.
Terrace Marshall.
Burrow had
That's true. Burrow had better
amazing.
pass catchers, I think, in retrospect.
He had the
He
2
had
best
Chase
pass
and
catchers
Jefferson.
in the
I think he had better.
NFL right now.
I will say that CJ Stroud, I
Arguably,
think,
yeah.
was good on his own. I will
He
say
was.
I am a little
He was a good
concerned
quarterback.
about CJ Stroud, mostly because the Texans are a disaster. And he doesn't have great weapons. I think he'll be fine long term, but I'm a little concerned about Stroud, but I don't think he's necessarily a bust.
Yeah.
And I think people
I have
have a
Young
stupid
Stroud
there.
on Dynasty team right now, and I'm trying to sell off Stroud.
I
and
think
keep
most
Young.
of the
I'd
bad
rather
talk
get
about
rid of
CJ Stroud is lazy. They're helmet scouting. They're lazy. That he went to
Yes.
Ohio State, he can't succeed. That's obviously doesn't work that way. We judge one player at a time. I think there's just mostly lazy analysis. Most of the negative stuff I've heard about CJ Stroud has just been he went to Ohio State, he can't succeed, and we know that's lazy and stupid. Okay, I think we're good. Anyone have anything else they want to plug?
No, man.
Come find us on Twitter if you're
See
not
me next
already.
week right here.
Yeah. For me, just make sure to check out the other stuff on the podcast feed. Not podcast. Well, do check out the podcast feed if you don't like YouTube, but you're watching this on YouTube. But if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, make sure to subscribe there. If you're on YouTube, make sure to watch the other videos. Conan and I are doing great stuff. I'm doing solo shows, Ask Tyler shows, and all that. And yeah, I hope you like the thumbnail. And I'm judging you, and I'm just judging
Yeah,
you.
but what's that? Oh,
I'll
The
take
first,
2 aside.
though.
Okay. 2 aside. But yeah. I think I got it all right.
I
yeah.
think we had it.
Love it. Peace.
See you.